What's up, chat? It's lore time!
Hello!
Hello! Is that too loud or is that good? Hi, chat! Happy Sunday, chat! Why was Lady Maria so gassy? I don't know. Something she ate that day, man. Seriously, something she ate that day. I have no idea. Maybe the lore will explain it, dude. Maybe Vati's gonna do like a 20-minute segment on why Lady Maria was so gassy. I'm sure it's all according to the lore. I'm sure it's all according to the lore. Do I still hate Bloodborne? I never hated it. W Bloodborne. We love Bloodborne in this house. We love Bloodborne in this house. Fishing Village Taco Bell goes crazy. So true. So true. How's the eyebrow? Dude, it's crazy. I went to a Halloween like get together last night. Nobody mentioned it. Not a single person asked. I think I'm flying under the radar. I think it just looks like I'm balding on my eyebrow. Dad just went a little nonverbal on vacation. 100%. I think we flew under the radar this time. Okay, chat, so the agenda today is pretty simple. I have 2 videos pulled up. Let me find them. I have 2 videos. I have this one, Bloodborne Story Explained by Vati. It seems like he's gonna go through the whole story. I don't know if the DLC is included on this, but we'll see if he has some more DLC stuff. And then I have this one that's about, like, the feminism aspect of Bloodborne. Which there's a lot, because it's about, like, pregnancy and stuff like that. It's about being a mother. It's about being a mother. Yeah, this is a cozy stream. We're cozy vibes. We're cozy vibes. This is what the Fart Box partnered us to do. This is what the Fart Box sponsored this stream to do. It's cozy vibes. Cozy, relaxing vibes only. Chat, am I supposed to be in the Bloodborne category for this, or am I supposed to be in just chatting? Expert professional streamer has no idea. Also, does anyone... Oh no, I accidentally started the video. No, Vati, not yet. Not yet, baby girl. Not yet, baby girl. Aussie boy, thank you for the raw tier 1. Just chatting. Chatting. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something. I think, what was our death total? I think our death total was 435? Is that right? I can tell you in 1 second. Yeah, 435. So we had 435 total deaths for Bloodborne. And then I think it was 106 total for fall deaths. Why, more than that? No, I don't scam. I even counted Allison's deaths. I feel like that's W, not scammer. Not even a scammer. Okay. So I think the official running total is that I have not sure why it's so skinny, 435 for Bloodborne. And then I have 106 for DS3 fall deaths. So total for charity, that means we owe $541? That can't be right. Wait, is that right? For charity? W charity, we're broke, charity's up. That's right. How I lost $500 playing Dark Souls. How I lost $400 playing Dark Souls. Bloodborne, I mean, sorry. So that's our charity total. That's our charity total. And it's gonna go to the PCRF. Alright, chat. We were only at about 160 deaths before the DLC. You know, that sounds about right. Ludwig and the orphan ran my shit up. And the research hall. Fuck the research hall, bro. Hate the research hall. Whatever research they were doing, I do not want to fund. Do I read YouTube? Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the best chat messages of all time that, no joke, actually saved my life came from YouTube chat. A YouTube chatter said, "Are you playing this on the PlayStation or the PC?" And I said I was playing it on the fart box. And that saved my life. Fighting Orphan of Kos. I don't know if I could have beat Orphan of Kos without that YouTube chat. So, YouTube chat stays up. YouTube chat stays up. I was watching that clip back, dude. I think I went to the edge of humanity. I was legitimately at the edge of humanity for sure. Yeah, that chat message, yeah. That chat message is important to me personally. This is YouTube chat propaganda. 100% this is YouTube chat propaganda. They don't have much. Let's give them this. YouTube chat doesn't get much ever. Let's at least give them this. Let's give them what they're owed. Okay, seriously, am I supposed to be in just chatting for this? We'll never know. We'll never know. Okay, let's start watching some lore. So we recently finished our Bloodborne marathon, so now I thought we would go through, watch all of Vati's videos, and learn everything we can about Bloodborne. Because this game is very intricate, there's a lot of lore, and I'm not necessarily smart enough to just pick it up. So we're here to be enlightened. We're here to be enlightened by Vati.
Strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest emotion of mankind.
Get your popcorn, get your hot drinks. I have my tea ready. It's movie night. Y'all ever think about how the end of Bloodborne is, would you still love me if I was a worm? Yeah. Allison didn't watch like the beginning of the marathon, but she watched the end and she was like, what was the worm? She was like, is that the real ending? I'm like, yes, that is a real ending. It is, would you still love me if I was a little slug? And I think that's impactful.
The oldest
and Vati's gonna explain why that is now.
And strongest emotion of mankind is fear. And the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the...
Is Vati too quiet? I can boost Vati in here a little. Vati's a bit quiet. Let's boost Vati. Can you hear him now?
H.P. Lovecraft.
H.P. Lovecraft.
Yet to open. Fear the old blood.
These were the words spoken between Master Willem and Lawrence, from the cautious teacher to the ambitious student.
Needs more volume? Okay. What about
The
this?
oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. H.P. Lovecraft.
Why are you still quiet? Vati, you crazy man. Vati, you crazy, crazy man. Speak up for us, kitten. We're gonna turn it up and then Vati's gonna play the Nito scream and blow out our eardrums. Dude, I made the Nito scream so loud for you guys on accident. It was still so quiet for me. The real punishment was watching the stream, to be honest with you. Okay, let me turn my limiter maybe to like... Turn my limiter... Maybe there?
The oldest and strongest
Is
emotion
Vati
of
loud enough now?
mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. H.P. Lovecraft.
Our eyes are yet to open. Fear the old blood.
These were the words spoken between Master Willem and
There's no way it's still quiet. How is it still quiet? How is she still quiet? Oh wait, I didn't put my shit over here. I'm louder than it is. That's the point. That's the point. I'm supposed to be louder. Otherwise, I'm just stealing Vati's beautiful content. Otherwise, I'm just stealing his beautiful, awesome content that he worked so hard for. Total is that I have. Oh no. Chat message. Yeah. Dude, what? I see chat this big. I just want to see me. Oh god. Oh, nightmare. Impactful.
the oldest
And Vati's gonna explain why that is now.
and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and
Why is that so quiet? The music was way louder. How does that even work? They come from the same audio source. How does it even work? Vati. It's maxed. Mr. Video Games. Hello. Volume is fine for you. Okay, what about this? Surely this is good. This is all I got.
the oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. H.P. Lovecraft.
And in the cave you fear to enter lies the treasure you seek. Think about that.
Eyes are yet to open. Fear the old blood.
These were the words spoken between Master Willem and Lawrence, from the cautious teacher to the ambitious student. Fear what you do not understand.
Okay, but was it Willem and Lawrence who have the two opposing viewpoints on how to gain insight? One of them thought that you need to actually gain eyes on the inside, and then the other one was about juicing it with blood. Juicing with so much blood into your body and your bones and brain fluid and making your brain super big and cute. I didn't realize that Willem was the teacher though, and that Lawrence was the student.
Fear the old blood. And so our story begins, as you might have guessed, with blood. Ancient blood. Deep below the city of Yharnam lies the ancient underground labyrinth.
Wait, Lawrence wanted to juice it and Willem wanted to get brain eyes. Yeah, because when you kill... Willem is the one that you kill to get Star. Which is the eye. That allows you to discover more items.
Of Tumeru. You know it as the
Tumeru. Pause. Whoa. How did we get to Tumeru? What the fuck is Tumeru? Wait, Tumeru. From the Chalice Dungeons. Oh my god, it all makes sense.
Ancient blood. Deep below the city of Yharnam lies the ancient underground labyrinth of Tumeru. You know it as the Chalice Dungeons.
Yeah, I
The
do!
old labyrinth was carved out by the Tumerians, superhuman beings that are said to have discovered a sinister truth. The hunters had another name for the labyrinth. They called it the Tomb of the Gods, for below they found traces of godlike beings named the Great Ones. The Great
Whoa.
Ones could function on transcendental
It's our
planes
girl.
of thought, meaning they had elevated their consciousness beyond.
Doesn't she have beautiful eyes? I mean, I understand that she's a spaghetti noodle and a vagina fused together, but she does have beautiful eyes. Can you get captions? Sure. Can I make this smaller in any way? A guy that went so deep in the rabbit hole, he found the true inspirations of the games called An Agony of Effort, the True Story of Bloodborne.
The physical realm. The benefits of operating on this plane are unclear. Perhaps it was in the name of immortality, or perhaps power, as even beyond, the Great Ones could interfere with beings and events in the waking world. Whatever the case, it is clear that some sort of ascension took place, as there are numerous references to some Great Ones being left behind.
So the Great Ones originated from the Chalice Dungeons? Or the Chalice Dungeons were the Great Ones' original society? The Chalice Dungeons' silhouette looks like the birth canal? Great Ones just existed. The Thumerians found and worshipped them. Old Thumeru worshipped the Great One. I see.
Of all the strange life forms that reside in the nooks and crannies of the old labyrinth, the slugs are clear signs of the left-behind Great Ones. One such Great One appears to be abandoned Ebritus, a left-behind being who apparently did not ascend with her brethren. One day, Ebritus would be discovered by the humans above, in a crusade that begins with a character named Willem.
Okay, but Ebrietas, wasn't she kept below so that they could juice all the blood from her, and that's where like the blood comes from? Or at least the most potent blood is the blood of the Great Ones from before? She's kept as a holy blood medium. So she's basically just a giant spaghetti blood bag. She's a giant spaghetti blood bag with beautiful eyes. With beautiful eyes, though. Communion vending machine. All right. Put another quarter into the spaghetti blood monster. For your blood.
By the humans above, in a crusade that begins with a character named Willem.
Willem.
Master Willem presided over a prestigious place of learning, Bergenworth.
Bergenworth! The College of Bergenworth! Where they got the couches upstairs and they make you fight that fucking hunter in the damn waiting room at the couches. What the Thumerians discovered was how to see and interact with the Great Ones. That's why you need insight to see some things like the grabby monsters in Cathedral Ward. It could be less that they're juicing Ebrietas and more that regular ladies get juiced and Ebrietas' influence helps make the blood have the effect that it does. Yeah, because you can get blood from like every lady, except the old lady. And she's like, I don't do that no more because of menopause. Think about it. Think about it.
Situated by a tranquil lake and secluded within a gigantic forest, Byrgenwerth housed the mines that would change the world. In fact,
For the worst.
everything sacred in Yharnam came to be traced back to Byrgenwerth,
L.
including
Byrgenwerth.
the most influential characters within our story. Bloodborne's lore is very character-driven, and there are 5 who I'm going to help you become familiar with. There was Master Willem, Runesmith Carol, Lawrence,
Carol!
Mikolash, and Gurman. I'll introduce them to you in the order that they become relevant in the story. As I said, Master Willem was the head of the...
Is he dressed as Lady Maria? He's in the fart garb. Adorned in Our Lady's garbs of farts. Oh, that's the school outfit.
School at Byrgenwerth. The man was obsessed with the truth and believed in pushing the limits of humanity.
I actually got a full ride scholarship to Byrgenwerth, but I turned it down. Seemed kind of culty, you know what I mean? Football scholarship. Yeah. I was gonna be the kicker for Byrgenwerth.
In almost every dialogue and description, Willem is referred to as Master or Provost, clearly deserving of a great deal of respect. Many would eventually diverge
he had all
from
them
his
eyes in him.
tutorage, but few can say that they didn't owe everything to his research, for while Willem presided over Byrgenwerth, the scholars there discovered terrific things in the tombs below the city of Yharnam.
Once, a group of young Byrgenwerth scholars discovered a holy medium deep within the tomb. This led to the founding of the Healing Church and the establishment of blood healing.
It's hard to be sure exactly what was found, but we do know it was related to the Great Ones. On the ground floor of Byrgenwerth College, we find the Pearl Slugs, remnants of the Great Ones, and at the very top of the college, we find the empty Phantasm Shell, an empty invertebrate shell that is said to be the familiar of a Great One. After this discovery, whatever it was that showed them that the Great Ones existed, the Byrgenwerth scholars launched an inquiry into the Great Ones and the Old Blood. For from this point onwards, there is an explosion of lore and history and references to what the scholars found in the tombs below Yharnam.
So they archaeologically dug up something related to the Great Ones that then inspired them to found like the Church of Blood Healing and use the blood of the Great Ones, such as Ebrietas, to do healing stuff. Would I drink the old blood for $100? I think, okay, hear me out though, because drinking the old blood might turn you into a beast, right? Isn't that the $100 is $100? I feel like as a person who experienced periods, I already fight the beast once per month. Like, what's the old blood gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, that's just plus $100 at that point. The beef. I'm fighting that beef. Every month, bro. I would take the money, pretend I drank it, or gaslight them into thinking I did. Look, it's like, it's missing this much. That's what I drank. That's what I drank. Seriously. Seriously, I drank it. Seriously. I spat it out. Could I fight someone else's beast in me? I guess that's what it is at the beginning, right? When your character sees the blood werewolf. I would simply not succumb to the beast. No, I would not succumb to the beast. I would lock in. I would tell the beast to fuck off. And then I would use my $100 for evil. And cigarettes.
Many of these references come from Runesmith Carol.
Runesmith Carol! Runesmith Carol!
Transcribed the inhuman utterings of the Great Ones into what we now call Carol runes. In true Lovecraftian fashion, it is really likely that it's impossible for humans to comprehend.
Wait, Okay, we know this guy. He was the guy that was tied up and he come to death in the Hemlock Witch's basement. This is Carol? Carol was the guy who come to death? Wait, actually? The lion simply doesn't succumb to the beast scourge. What a way to go. Dude, I knew Carol was based, man. Runesmith Carol was a real one till the end. Well, he unfortunately got sucked to death by 1 to 3 witches.
And the speech of the Great Ones, but Carol apparently had a knack, a talent for creating a visual representation of the Great One's words. The hunter who receives this workshop tool can etch Carol runes into their mind to attain their wondrous strength.
Okay, so Carol, the runes are basically just Carol interpreting the Great One's language and using the symbols to harness a fraction of their power. Do we fear the old blood yet? Always did. I always was afraid of the old blood. I always was afraid of the old blood. Yeah, so he basically translates them so a human can understand them. What does it mean when they say etch it onto their mind? And is that why you only have 3 slots? You can only remember 3 of them at the same time? 3 to 4? Like literally carving it into your skull? So you could only commit like 3 of these things to your soul or yourself. The language imprints itself into your mind. It's kind of like spell slots then. Like you probably know all the spells, but you can't like have every single spell ready at will. Like you're probably only physically capable of using the power of 3 of them at once. And any more, you're like tapped out. Remembering is hard sometimes. So true. It'll make you insane because it imprints on your very mind and soul. So like reading an Elder Scroll. Like you're probably only good for that once, and then after that, you're tapped out. Like it's gonna make you crazy. If the first one didn't make you crazy.
Provost Willem would have been proud of Carol's runes, as they do not rely upon blood in any measure. This statement is curious. It tells us 3 things. First, Provost Willem and Carol were close, as Willem would have been proud of him. And second, Willem didn't have a chance to be proud, so it's possible that the 2 lost contact. And thirdly, and most importantly, Willem would have been proud because the runes did not rely on blood.
See, Willem did not fuck with the blood because it makes you crave the blood more and then you become a monster. He was just about putting as many eyeballs as he could inside of his head.
In other words, Willem did not approve the use of the old blood, the blood found in the Tomb of the Gods. The Metamorphosis rune states, the discovery of blood made their dream of evolution a reality. Metamorphosis and the excesses and deviation that followed was only the beginning. Willem believed in a different path.
Put the eyeballs in!
Attaining more insight, for humanity's eyes had yet to open. The Eye Rune states that Master Willem looked to beings from higher planes for guidance, and sought to line his brain with eyes in order to elevate his thoughts. And with these descriptions, you should have some idea of the scale of ambition of these characters. With the discovery of beings greater than them came a desire to ascend into godhood, to push humanity into its next stage of evolution. The only question was how? Blood or insight? And this was
See, Vati also got grabbed by that. I'm just saying. I'm just saying Vati also got grabbed by that one. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
a question that split the ranks of the
Everybody
Bloodborne
gets grabbed by
scholars.
that, yeah.
It's how we arrived at the cutscene we started at earlier, with Master Willem and Lawrence parting ways.
Master Willem, I've come to bid you farewell.
Oh, I know. You think now to betray me.
From
Oh.
this cutscene, we can infer that Lawrence was a high-ranking student of Master Willem, because firstly, Lawrence refers to Willem as Master, and secondly, Willem clearly regards Lawrence highly enough to call this departure a betrayal.
No, but you will never listen.
Lawrence disagrees. He does not see it as betrayal, and here we come to the heart of what their disagreement is about. Essentially, it boils down to the difference between the two resources in the game. Willem believes man requires insight and knowledge to ascend. Lawrence believes in the power of blood. Lawrence attempts to reassure Willem, telling him he will always fear the old blood, but that this fear will not stop him using it.
I tell you, I will not forget our adage.
This is so classic. This is like the classic thing, the Jurassic Park thing, where they're like, you shouldn't push science too far. Maybe you shouldn't bring back all the dinosaurs. Probably don't do that. And there's always one son of a bitch who's like, we should bring back the dinosaurs. I fear the old blood. Like hell you do. You're about to use the shit out of the old blood to try and become a god. Don't bring the dinosaurs back, bro. That's so cooked. Then he gets eaten by the dinosaurs, inevitably.
We are born of the blood, made men by the blood, undone by the blood. Our eyes are yet to open.
Fear the old blood. I must take my leave.
He doesn't say it back. Bro, notice he doesn't say it back. He did it. Lawrence didn't say it back, dude. Cinema. Wait, cinema. He didn't say it back. Because he doesn't actually believe it. And now he's about to do crazy, unholy, crazy shit with the healing church.
Lawrence leaves the Byrgenwerth scholars, presumably with a small group of rebels, and goes on to found
Maybe Lady Maria and all her farts and gas. Maybe. She did a lot of crazy shit with the healing church.
the Healing Church. Willem remains at Byrgenwerth and attempts to elevate his thoughts to a higher plane. He will return to our story at a later time, so while I tell you of what Lawrence went on to do, imagine Willem here in Byrgenwerth, sitting in his rocking chair.
Wait, we fought Lawrence, right? We end up fighting Lawrence in the DLC. He's the guy that turns into the lava man. Wait. The real one is dead in the Grand Cathedral. That's his head. He's the lava man. Wait. Wait, that's crazy.
Over the lake, musing on how to acquire insight and elevate his thoughts to a higher plane. Everything Lawrence would come to achieve was based on the knowledge he had come by in Byrgenwerth. In retrospect, we clearly see why Willem saw Lawrence's departure as a betrayal. Perhaps Willem himself even planted these ideas in Lawrence's mind. A note in the lecture hall reads, "Master Willem was right. Evolution without courage will be the ruin of our race." Lawrence had courage, but it is likely that his courage bordered on arrogance.
You can go too far. Lawrence is going to try to bring back the dinosaurs. Just watch. Lawrence is going to try to bring back the dinosaurs, and then he turns into a dinosaur himself. And then we fight him in the DLC. Yeah, Lawrence literally wants to inject 5 million cc's of the healing blood straight into his dome until he turns into a big, awesome monster. Which, who can blame him? Who can blame him? You have a little hit of the period blood from the old ones, and then there you are.
The Bergenworth student uniform states, "The Healing Church has its roots in Bergenworth and naturally borrows heavily from its uniform design. The focus not on knowledge or thought, but on pure pretension would surely bring Master Willem to despair if only he knew." So Lawrence threw caution to the wind and put his faith in the old blood. Think on human history. Imagine if, in any era, a church was founded that had access to a substance that could cure any illness. Imagine if this church gave it freely to a city, how powerful that city would become, and how powerful the church would become within it.
Sounds like Monkey D. Luffy would go there and set things right. That sounds like an island in One Piece. the Blood Church Island. And Luffy gets there and he's like, "The church is corrupt!" And he goes into Gear 5.
This is exactly what happened in Yharnam. People came far and wide to be treated with the miraculous blood of the gods, and the people of Yharnam put their faith in the Healing Church.
Okay, but didn't the Catholic Church kind of do this with condolences? They were basically like, I have all of these little papers that will get you to heaven so long as you give us money and don't ask what we're going to do with the money. And then they got dummy rich. Catholic Church reference. This game's about periods and the Catholic Church. Churches are on some scam shit, for real. Indulgences. Why do I think they were condolences? Like a card you send someone after you beat them in Mario Kart so badly at the function. Yeah, and then Martin Luther nailed his 99 Theses to a wall and he was like, fuck this. Actually, fuck this. We're supposed to be fearing the old blood, not buying the indulgences from the Catholic Church. And what are they going to do with the money? Seriously, what are they going to do with the money? Pay some guy to rewrite the Bible? And now it's bad to be gay? What the hell? Can I explain it in Fortnite terms? Okay, so imagine if all the Fortnite guys can't have access to shield potion and mats, and the Catholic Church has all of it, and they make you pay for it. Kind of like that. Imagine no slurp juice. Yeah, if the Catholic Church rallied and then had a monopoly on all the slurp juice and all the shield pots. Imagine no slurp juice. I'm saying, bro. What is this stream right now? We're learning.
In fact, what happened in Yharnam is eerily similar to what happened in the tombs deep below, where the blood was originally found.
This history
And as you
repeats
know,
itself.
Many Chalice dungeons, especially those of Loran, are now overrun by horrific beasts. The lower Loran Chalice states, there are trace remains of medical procedures in parts of ailing Loran. Whether these were attempts to control the scourge of the beast, or the cause of the outbreak, is unknown. The ailing Loran Chalice states, the tragedy that struck this ailing land of Loran is said to have its root in the scourge of the beast. Some have made the dreaded extrapolation that Yharnam may be next.
Okay, so the beast plague that is plaguing Yharnam originated in Loran. And that's why it's called ailing Loran, because they're ailing from the beast plague, which all started from the blood. Because they weren't fearing the old blood. Nobody was fearing the old blood like they were supposed to. And then the Catholic Church seized all the slurp juice.
Yharnam was next. Through overuse of the healing blood, the city would eventually succumb to the scourge of the beast. Until then, though, Lawrence and the healing church managed to grow in power.
That's gonna be me when they find out that aspartame and what's the other one that's in Coke Zero? Aspartame and it starts with a S. Anyways, this exact same thing is going to happen in the United States once they find out that all the sugar alcohols and microplastics are plaguing us and turning us into beasts.
Then, though, Lawrence and the healing
And the lead in the protein powder! And the lead in the protein powder!
church
Can you imagine slurp juice so good that it just casually turns you into a dog? Yeah, it's called Coke Zero. I would let Coke Zero turn me into a beast tomorrow. I would be Gilbert busting out of my window, frothing at the mouth in the streets of Yharnam tomorrow.
managed to grow in power with the miraculous healing properties of their special, yet infected, blood. Yharnam grows to become a city of worship and fear. As you explore throughout the city, you see the influence of the church everywhere. With Yharnam's resources, Lawrence clearly had the power to grow the church beyond what would have been possible at Byrgenwerth. All the while, he continued exploring the labyrinth below Yharnam. The Tomb Prospector set reads, "Attire of the Tomb Prospectors who explore the old labyrinth on behalf of the Healing Church. The Healing Church traces its roots to Byrgenwerth and is therefore aware of the ruins' true importance. These ruins contain much more than hunter trinkets. Indeed, they hide the very secrets of the old Great Ones, sought after by those with the insight to imagine greatness." On top of this, Lawrence split the church into multiple branches, each with a different purpose. There was the choir, the School of Mensis, and the workshop. We'll get
Oh my god, the church is going crazy. The church literally has like branches of government and branches of military. They got scouts going down in the dungeons to find more Great One shit. They have everything.
to these branches as they become appropriate, but the main purpose of the church, at least to the people of Yharnam, was the administration of blood healing. Within the Grand Cathedral itself lies a note that says, "Heir to the ritual of blood, purveyor of ministration, place your hand upon the altar's sacred covering and inscribe Master Lawrence's adage upon your flesh." Blood ministers would have been those who administered the blood healing. How else would the people of Yharnam be so obsessed with blood? In Yharnam, they produced more blood than alcohol, as the former is more intoxicating. However, the ministration of blood was likely a means to an end, for the healing church still intended to commune with the Great Ones, in hopes of ascending humanity to a higher plane. This task was given to the choir, a group who were a part of the healing church. Members of the choir are both the highest-ranking clerics of the healing church and scholars who continued the work that began at Byrgenwerth. The eye covering indicates their debt to the teachings of Master Willow.
So the choir was basically like the propaganda department, and they Ronald Reagan'd people into getting so addicted to blood, like modern day United States evangelists getting people addicted to awesome homophobia and racism to rally them to their cause and solve all their problems. This is crazy. This is
Even
insane.
though their paths diverged, the choir, garbed in black and white, with the familiar eye covering, occupied the upper cathedral ward. It seems to have been their job to research and make contact with the Great Ones.
Make
The
contact.
Great Is Chalice became the cornerstone of the choir, the elite delegation of the healing church. It was also the first great chalice brought back to the surface since the time of Byrgenwerth and allowed the choir to have audience with Abritus.
Which they then locked in the basement, milked all her blood out, and then infected Yharnam with it. I wonder what the funny blood game was about. It was politics. Politics and periods, man. Are we a fan of milking in this chat? No, milking is wrong. You shouldn't be milking Ebrietas. You shouldn't be milking the great ones. We shouldn't be milking.
Ebrietas was the left-behind Great One, who came to reside below the Grand Cathedral. We are told that the
Reside? They trapped her there, man. They locked her down there. Chained her up. Hid her beautiful spaghetti from the world.
Grand Cathedral is the birthplace of the Healing Church's special.
And then I killed her. I did do that. But was I freeing her? Think about it that way. Think about it that way.
Blood, and if the church were indeed using the blood of the Great Ones, then who's to say it wasn't Ebrietas's blood?
It was her
The
blood!
Order of Ebrietas is one of the secret rites of the choir, used by the high-ranking members of the Healing Church. Use phantasms, the invertebrates known to be augurs of the Great Ones, to partially summon abandoned Ebrietas, one of the few rites that allow one to directly utilize the power of the Great Ones, and evidence that the choir had approached the Eldritch Truth. The Augur of Ebrietas is an arcane method of fighting that was actually shared with the second subsection of the Healing Church, the School of Mensis. The upper echelons of the Healing Church are formed by the School of Mensis, based in the Unseen Village. This brings us to our next important character, Mikolash, who was likely the head of the School of Mensis. The School of Mensis was, as the name implies, a place of learning, research, and experimentation for the Healing Church. Their student set reads, "The Healing Church has its roots in Byrgenwerth and naturally borrows heavily from its uniform design. The school was based below Yharnam, in a place called Yahar'gul, the Unseen Village. Clearly, the work of Mensis was intended to be kept a secret from the people of Yharnam. In fact, as time went on, the school increasingly seems to have been working alone, even separately from the Healing Church itself. The Yahar'gul attire tells us,
Okay, so the School of Mensis is like, you know, in like the paranormal shows where they have like the secret branch of the government and they're like, we're the FBI, but for aliens and also spooky monsters. They're like that for the Healing Church. But instead of like being against the aliens and the monsters, they were just trying to unlock the secrets. Mensis is fucked up X-Files. Yes, they're like the fucked up X-Files, but they are trying to learn about the aliens. They want more aliens. Bring on the aliens. We love the aliens and the nightmare. And that's why he's called Host of the Nightmares, because he was linking to the nightmare and bringing in the amygdalas. And bringing in the amygdalas and everything else. And probably Orphan of Kos or something. Where did that guy come from? Vati, help me.
the Hunters of Yahar'gul answer to the village's founders, the School of Mensis. Hunters in name only, these kidnappers blend into the night wearing this attire. These were not true hunters. That title was saved for the third subsection of the Healing Church, the Hunters of the Workshop.
We were a part of the Healing Church the whole time? I didn't know this. We were not. But the Hunters of the Workshop were. The first Hunters were. Okay. The original church was. Then we got under some new management or something for our character. Gehrman took it back or something. Gehrman bought back the company.
These capable warriors of the church appeared as the scourge of the beast began to show in Yharnam. The workshop hunters served under Gehrman, the first hunter, who you're all familiar with. The hunter attire reads, one of the standard articles of hunter attire fashioned at the workshop, a fine piece of hunter attire that provides stable defense to anyone facing Yharnam's beastly threat, allows one to stalk beasts unannounced by cover of night. It's possible the unannounced part of that sentence is to do with killing beasts without them noticing you, but it could also be because the workshop was a secret secret institution. The original workshop is located in a very hard to find part of Cathedral Ward, and think about it, you don't want the townsfolk believing that the blood is turning them into beasts. When that information is floating around, you want to avoid panic at all costs. So the hunters hunted beasts under the cover of night, but the hunters and the beastly scourge couldn't stay a secret forever.
That's crazy. Okay, so the church was actively getting people hooked on blood, which would then turn them into beasts, and then using the hunters to secretly kill them, like a secret police. Wait, what the hell? Garamond was affiliated with the church. He would cry in his sleep and ask for Lawrence to save him. Garamond's a freak. Garamond is a freak. Garamond is a gooner canonically. Surely he's not canonically a gooner. Surely. They did have to get the town to help murder said beats Knights of the Hunt. He modeled the doll after Lady Maria? He told me I was free to use the doll as I wish. Yeah, channeling blood echoes. What else would you use it for, bro? So? Gooners and freaks. It's channeling blood echoes only. That's all we're doing in this house. He loved Maria, his own student, but he never told her. He kept it a secret. After she died, he made the doll. Okay. Ew. That's so crazy, though, that they then invented the Knights of the Hunt to get rid of the beast that they were creating. Took her to the workshop and I freaked it.
In what would come to be called Old Yarnum, a new disease appeared. It was called Ashen Blood. I call
Ashen
it a disease,
blood?
but the
Ashen blood.
small medicinal tablets used to treat it actually counteract poison. A tablet used to treat Ashen Blood, the baffling sickness that ravaged Old Yarnum
Wait, is that poison? Is that getting poisoned?
long ago. These tablets only provide short-term relief. The Ashen Blood ailment eventually triggered the spread of the beastly scourge. Think about that. We know that the old blood heals every illness. We know that the old blood causes the beastly scourge, and we now know that the Ashen Blood caused the beastly scourge to spread. In short, it seems like people were infected with the Ashen Blood, and the medicine that they had only provided short-term relief, and they were forced to imbibe the old blood instead. It's even possible that the healing church used this Ashen Blood to gain power, swooping in with this miracle cure and liberating the people from the Ashen Blood disease. Since Ashen Blood seems poisonous in nature, perhaps the church even poisoned the populace just for that excuse to use the old blood, because that excuse to get the populace to believe in you, that would have been so powerful. But whatever the case, the beastly scourge was triggered overwhelmingly in Old Yarnum.
Dude, the church is like the most elite propaganda machine. And that is a sentence that you can extrapolate to the real world. Like, what the hell? The church is literally like farming all the methods of propaganda for the blood magic, the healing blood. They're getting people hooked on. This is what's the thing? They poison you, so they sell you their poison. And then what is the sentence? They sell you their poison to get you hooked on their cure, to whatever the sentence. Motherfuckers always be like, I wouldn't take the blood. Bro, you would. And it's not because you're dumb. It's because the propaganda machine is elite and orchestrated for that exact purpose. The entire town is perfect to keep money and people available for the experiments. Yeah, they're just farming them. It's just Yharnam is just a farm for them to test their god powers and get money. I drink lead sludge daily. I would drink that blood hard. That's what I'm saying, but it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. They have specifically engineered and designed the lead sludge to be delicious and to solve your problems and to be delicious. Yummy lead. Yummy microplastics.
We know that much, to the point where they actually had to burn it down and cordon off Old Yharnam from the rest of the city. The Red Moon hangs...
So Old Yharnam was kind of like a failed experiment. The blood does cure you, but traps you in this cycle. Like Ozempic? Or yeah, I guess like extremely palatable foods. Like they're cheap and they're incredibly caloric. So they meet your like food needs, but they're also cheap and affordable. So they cure your problem, but then they also cause like obesity and like heart disease and other stuff. Someone played Bloodborne and invented Ozempic. They were like, you know what? I could get down with this blood shit. I could get down with this blood shit. And in fact... yeah, it's literally preying upon desperate people who are seeking a cure of some kind. And they just want to make their life better, but then they get hooked on this thing that then puts them in the cycle that the healing church has designed. Like it's not their fault. It's not your fault if you get hooked on the blood. It's the evil church that's designed this impossible to escape cycle.
And beasts rule the streets. Are we left no other choice than to burn it all to cinders?
Cinders! Dark Souls 3 reference! It's a Dark Souls 3 reference! And ash is meant to seek cinders or something.
With this, the hunt became known to all. Perhaps the church feared an uprising from the people of Yharnam, for a note in central Yharnam reads, "When the hunt began, the healing church left us, blocking the great bridge to Cathedral Ward as Old Yharnam burned to the ground that moonlit night." As a result, Gurman's workshop was sealed and closed. With the Scourge of the Beast known to all, perhaps there was no need for secrecy anymore. The Saw Hunter badge comes to read, "Badge crafted long ago at the workshop, attests to one's prowess as a hunter of beasts. The workshop is gone, and no group recognizes this meaningless badge." At this point, the church retreats. They block themselves off in Upper Cathedral Ward and come up with a new strategy for dealing with the Scourge of the Beast that is spreading throughout Yharnam. Eventually, the workshop hunters would disband, and the church founded the Church Hunter Workshop in its place. Ludwig was the chief hunter of the Healing Church, which consisted of hunters garbed in black and white.
He was the chief hunter, so that makes a lot of sense why he would have so much blood on his hands. He was the number one guy. Number one beast killer man.
The Black Church Hunter attire reads, "Most healing church hunters are elementary doctors who understand the importance of early prevention of the scourge, achieved by disposing of victims, even potential victims, before signs of sickness manifest themselves." Their black attire is synonymous with fear and that peculiar Yharnam madness. The Black Church Hunter's job was clear: remove any sign of the scourge of the beast, even if it hasn't manifested itself yet. The fear that it inspired in the citizens shows. Most in Upper Cathedral Ward are deathly afraid of the church. The white church hunters' jobs were a bit different. These doctors are superiors to the black preventative hunters and specialists in experimentally backed blood ministration and the scourge of the beast. They believe that medicine is not a means of treatment, but rather a method of research, and that some knowledge can only be attained by exposing oneself to sickness. Their experimentation might explain the monstrously large church giants who would have been particularly useful in the fight against the beasts. Ludwig's greatsword exhibits several departures from the workshop's design.
So the white hunters were just freaking it and getting infected on purpose? They were freaking it and getting infected on purpose to help fight the beasts? The church provides a cure to literally everything and y'all will still complain. That's what I'm saying, though. The propaganda machine is so damn effective. It's impossibly effective. So this would be like mirrored in like rich celebrities doing Ozempic and then more people like thought to do it, or like when the rich people do like the vampire facials and stuff like that. The white members of the church are like actively exposing themselves to potentially gain like some power or whatever. And then that makes it more likely for like the normal people to buy in. Miyazaki predicted Ozempic. I did find out that Queen Ashandra is Manus' daughter, and also I found out that Reverb Lady was Manus' daughter, and she, like, basically Naruto'd herself and, like, beat the allegations and beat the cycle and became a good guy. Okay, the vampire facials are not what you think they are. They're, it's like injecting your own blood into your face or something. Yeah, nothing to do with compires, unfortunately. Totally separate thing. Totally separate thing for the compires. Totally separate.
Suggesting that the church anticipated much larger, inhuman beasts. On top of this, Ludwig took a much more overt approach to beast hunting. Nightly, he would embark upon central Yharnam, across the Great Bridge, to fight back against the beasts. But he was not alone. The population of central Yharnam joined the hunt as well, swelling the ranks of the hunters. Ludwig, the first hunter of the Healing Church, once recruited Yharnamites to serve as hunters. This hunter's attire was made for new recruits, and has excellent straightforward defense, but not nearly enough to allow an ordinary man to stand any real chance against the beasts. It sounds like a very clever move, as it probably stopped the populace blaming the church and likely formed more of a us versus them mentality. Meanwhile, in Berg,
that's actually crazy. They infected the people to then become beasts, and then they recruited the same normal people to fight in their war, which they have nothing to gain from. Literally nothing to gain from, bro. Bloodborne is politics, I fear. Bloodborne is literally politics. They did not really know the blood would cause the beast curse until pretty much everyone, including themselves, had it in them. Where does Miyazaki come up with this stuff? Certainly there's no real world analog to this phenomenon. Dude, Bloodborne is politics. I'm booting up my fart box and starting a new playthrough. So tired of the Yarnum culture where every werewolf is woke now. They knew Lawrence was warned by Willem. That's what the Fear of the Old Blood was about. Yeah, so they kind of knew that the Old Blood would turn people into beasts, but they did it anyway because of the healing property. And because they could get people hooked on it. They got the blood from ruined labyrinths of destroyed societies, so there were signs. And the signs were ignored. It's like in one of those ads for a new medicine. And it's like telling you all the cool things it does. And then there's like the guy that comes in at 3x speed and tells you that's going to give you diarrhea and also kill you and maybe give you heart disease and more diarrhea and a headache.
Master Willem had an epiphany. We are thinking on the basest of planes. What we need are more eyes. Willem took this very literally. The remaining students of Byrgenwerth appear to have been transformed into multi-eyed, fly-like creatures, and more importantly, Willem himself found an umbilical cord of a Great One, which was a very significant and powerful artifact. Provost Willem sought the cord in order to elevate his being and thoughts to those of a Great One by lining his brain with eyes, the only choice he knew if man were ever to match their greatness. Used to gain insight, and, so they say, eyes on the inside, although no one remembers what that truly entails. It's difficult to know exactly how Willem came across or created an umbilical cord, so we'll have to go into that in another video. Just know that he has one for now. When we encounter Willem, he directs us to the Great Lake. The power of great bodies of water is actually referenced in a few runes. Great volumes of water serve as a bulwark guarding sleep, and an augur of the eldritch truth. Overcome this hindrance and seek what is yours. The lake and what lies within it hides the truth. Rom, the Byrgenwerth spider, lies within, and there's a lot we don't know about her, but I'll tell you what we do.
So, but this, like, kind of parallels to Orphan of Kos, right? Because Orphan of Kos is also on a giant body of water. So the bodies of water are in some way connected to the Great One. Fluid is a medium. Like the brain fluid. Water of the womb! And blood is thicker than water. The blood of the battlefield specifically. The blood of the battlefield is thicker than the water at camp or something. And the tidal waves, menstrual cycle, blood ministration. Sounds awful lot like blood menstruation. Lake. Yes, W Lake and water. And the menstrual cycle.
The Byrgenwerth spider hides all manner of rituals and keeps our lost master from us, a terrible shame. The spider is certain to reveal nothing, for true enlightenment need not be shared. I believe this is what the vacuous part of Rom's name refers to. This creature is somehow hiding the true nature of the world, and when you defeat it, you don't need insight to see the world for what it truly is. The night moves forward, the blood moon descends, and after killing Rom, we are finally granted access to what remains of Yahar'gul, home of Mikolash and his School of Mensis. The School of Mensis appears to have grown apart from the Healing Church and the Choir. There is little information on Mikolash and his school, but we can prove that there was a split.
Because this is where the dinosaurs are about to happen. There's already been several instances of dinosaur, but I think that the School of Mensis is really, 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 really gonna go dinosaur direction. Like, I think they're gonna discover something that throws all the shit out of whack, and then the church is gonna be like, well, but how does this have to do with us making more money and getting everyone addicted to blood? And they're gonna be like, we have accessed the greater realm of beings, and we found aliens, and everything is crazy now. And they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. What are all these dinosaurs doing in Yarnum?
Firstly, Mikolash uses the Augur of Abritus, a secret rite of the choir shared among the high-ranking members of the Healing Church. This suggests he was trusted with this information and was once a sane member of the church. To prove that there was a split between the Healing Church's choir and the school, we note clear signs of distrust and fighting between the groups. Imprisoned inside Yahar'gul is the corpse of a member of the choir, and inside the Nightmare of Mensis, we find who the official guide calls Edgar, Choir Intelligence.
Edgar!
Clearly, the choir was suspicious of what was going on.
So Edgar was going in to see what the fuck was going on because Mikolash cut contact because he was making contact with the damn aliens in the mother brain. Type shit. They're turning the freaking frogs gay. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, bro. The freaking frogs are gay.
In Yahar'gul with the School of Mensis, and based on what we find there in Yahar'gul, it seems the choir had good reason to be. The School of Mensis were attempting to commune with the Great Ones, and they succeeded. As Willem did, they found an umbilical cord. We find 4 cords in the game that allow contact with the Great Ones, and Mikolash had one. This cord granted Mensis audience with.
You gotta wonder about the amount of neck pain that Mikolash was in. Like, this thing is probably heavy as fuck. Like, the knots on his shoulders from holding this thing up, I don't know any masseuse that could get them out. Like, this thing is so heavy. He's either got the thickest neck in the world or the sorest neck, bro. Visual metaphor for being closed-minded. He only trains neck for months. He's the guy with the one giant trap, but they're both of his giant traps. A tiny body. Ed's literally in a cage.
Murgo, but resulted in the stillbirth of their brains. As we know, most Great Ones reside in the Nightmare Realm, and whatever ritual they performed with this cord ripped Mensis and its students into a nightmare. That's why you find the lecture hall in the Nightmare, and that's why there's hundreds of dead students throughout Yahar'gul.
Are the dead students his pupils? I mean, not pupils. Are the dead students his little puppet guys that he has around? That do the puppet arms? Something to think about.
All wearing the cage that appears to have delivered them to their harrowing nightmare. Mikolash's corpse provides a gateway into the nightmare, and we find him here, clearly insane, wandering the halls. Mikolash
He was normal when I
believes that
fought
it's
him.
possible to ascend towards becoming a Great One.
He was low-key
citing
normal.
Rom as his example. Rom, however, is not fully developed. Rather, she has the blood of their kin. And let's just go back to Rom for a second. When you defeat Rom, Queen Yharnam appears. She's a Tumerian woman who has clearly suffered a childbirth gone horribly wrong. She is linked to the Nightmare of Mensis, to the ritual that Rom was hiding, and she appears in this nightmare, looking up towards Murgo's loft, where Murgo and his wet nurse reside. Queen Yharnam hails from the Tumerian civilization that was in power long ago, and she was blessed with a child of the Great Ones. From the way she appears outside Murgo's loft, it is clear that her consciousness, her spirit, was pulled into this nightmare as well. Even when you encounter Queen Yharnam's real self in the Tumerian tombs, the baby Murgo screams whenever you hit her, and even when you kill Yharnam in the tombs, it is clear that she is not actually dead, but her horrific consciousness is only asleep, and it stirs in unsettling motions.
Yharnam's stone, a sacred heirloom left by Yharnam, Thumerian queen, lies dead, but her horrific consciousness is only asleep and stirs in unsettling motions. So she was forced to carry Murgo, which is an infant great one. Just like Canehurst Queen. Oh, this is Murgo. Wait, that's crazy. That's actually Murgo. But you destroy the spirit of Murgo in Murgo's wet nurse's fight because you have to kill the baby also. I mean, many women are unwillingly carrying alien god fetuses. So true. So true. Ariana, Fake Yosefka. Who's to say that Mary, Mother of Jesus Christ, really signed up for it? You know what I mean?
Her consciousness seems to be showing up here in the nightmare, completely separate from her physical form. The same thing is happening with you, with Mikolash, with the Great Ones in the nightmare with you. You all exist in this nightmare that Mensis created. So your next question is, which Great One impregnated Yharnam with Murgo all those years ago? I believe it is formless Erden. The Great One Erden, lacking form, exists only in voice. To cite the fastest evidence to present, there's nothing in the cradle after you defeat Murgo, and Murgo himself, the child, has no form. Also, his cries are heard throughout your adventure. He exists everywhere. Additionally, Murgo's wet nurse has no form under those robes. And also, the women that are impregnated when this blood moon descends are all related to Erden. But we'll get to that in another video.
Wait, we know this though because Ariana was related to the Canehurst because she wears the Canehurst dress. And Murgo's cries you hear like throughout the whole game. He's the baby that's crying. But how is Fake Yosefka related?
When you defeat Murgo's wet nurse, you get a message unlike any other that you've received thus far. Instead of prey slaughtered, you get nightmare slain. You
yeah!
defeated a true Great One that's elevated its consciousness to the nightmare realm, and the game is nearing its end. However, all of this should make you think. The nightmare of Mensis isn't the only dream world I've set foot in, is it? This entire time, I've actually been journeying out from the hunter's dream, guided by lanterns that led me to Murgo and her wet nurse, all of which is made possible by German and his doll. Travel to the hunter's workshop in the waking world and seek the truth. Every Great One loses its child and then yearns for a surrogate. The third umbilical cord precipitated the encounter with the pale moon, which beckoned the hunters and conceived the hunter's dream. Next to the cord is the unanimated doll. Take a hairpin from this real doll and then pass it along to the doll in the dream. When you give her the hairpin, she sheds a single tear, which reads, "Created from the shining silver doll tear, this blood gem is a quiet yet unfaltering friend that continually restores HP, the life essence of a hunter. Perhaps this doll's creator had wished for such a friend, albeit in vain." It's clear that German called upon the Great Ones using an umbilical cord, similar to the manner in which Mikolash did. The Great Ones that inhabit the nightmare are sympathetic in spirit and often answer when called upon. German, lonely and lacking purpose after the church had no more need for his workshop, must have called upon the Great Ones. A Great One responded.
Moon presence!
And imprisoned German within the dream. For while German sleeps, he utters this rare piece of dialogue that clearly shows he does not want to be here.
Oh, Lawrence, Master Willem, somebody help me.
Oh, because he regrets using the cord and he needs someone who's an expert of the Great One shit to help him. That's crazy.
Unshackle me, please. Anybody.
He's trapped.
I've had enough of...
Bro is literally in a prison of his own design. You brought this. You brought this, big dog. You literally used the cord and asked Moon Presence to do all this shit, and she did it. And good luck, babe. Here you are, brother.
this dream. The night blocks all sight. Oh, somebody, please.
So for what purpose was the dream conceived? Well, the doll tells us that countless hunters have passed through here, and all of the graves tell us that as well. And Eileen and Jura both have dialogue that is testament to that fact. They talk about how they've been through this dream before as well. So why are hunters being sent through this dream, unable to pass away, just forced to go out into the world and kill beasts? It becomes clearer when you kill Murgo's wet nurse. You return to the hunter's workshop burning down, the dream's purpose fulfilled. Ergo, the purpose of your dream and your hunt appears to have been to slay a great one. 3 endings are presented to you. The first. Gurman offers you a way out of the dream. He asks you to accept your death, for if you do, then you'll awaken in the waking world of Yharnam, and your consciousness will be no longer linked to the dream.
But low-key, no one's alive, right? And also, our character is an outsider, but where did they come from? Are there just other cities and other nations? Kind of like how in Dark Souls 2, it talks about how there's like Mira and shit like that. Plenty of people are alive. Hey, really? I thought everyone was dead. And there are other cities and nations. Okay, so we just come from somewhere else, conveniently.
Dream. The trophy for this ending reads, "You lived through the hunt and saw another day." The second option is to reject Gurman. He suggests that to do so must be a decision caused by madness, and he pits his will against yours to forcibly remove you from the dream. All the while, he entreats you to accept your death and be freed from this dream. If you overpower Gurman, we meet with the Moon Presence, the being that appears to have conceived this nightmare. Just like the nightmare Murgo conceived, it embraces you, and in the cutscene to follow, we see ourselves performing the same role that Gurman did, hosting the dream, likely a slave to the Moon Presence, or perhaps its surrogate child, guiding hunters throughout this dream in an effort to slay other great ones. The trophy for this ending reads, "Captivated by the Moon Presence, you pledge to watch over the hunter's dream." There's one key thing.
But Gehrman wanted us to kill Great Ones to free himself from this. So Gehrman kind of wants you to take over his job and free him, because that's like the only way out for him at this point.
You need to remember, the Great Ones are a race, but they're a race unlike any other. Each Great One is entirely unique, and they do not necessarily work together. In fact, from the existence of the dream, I'm almost inclined to believe that the Moon Presence is hostile towards other Great Ones. In the third and final ending, you consume 3 umbilical cords and resist the will of the Moon Presence. You overpower it, and in the cutscene to follow, the doll coddles the being you have become.
Oh, the Moon Presence wants us to kill the Great Ones, not Gehrman. So that's why the Moon Presence basically set up this situation to keep having hunters churning through the system to eventually kill other Great Ones. But Gehrman will sacrifice himself. That's what the refuse ending is. Gehrman will sacrifice himself to still be host of the dream so that you don't have to go through it. But then, by consuming the umbilical cords, you kind of end up double-crossing Moon Presence, and then you become a Great One. Or an infant Great One, at least.
You have ascended, truly, as few have before you. The trophy description states, "You became an infant Great One, lifting humanity into its next childhood." So after the end of all this, you probably still have questions. What is pale blood? Why does the moon presence guide hunters towards killing beasts and great ones? Which ending is the good ending? For all this and more, you need to be subscribed to the channel. I'll have another video out soon analyzing the endings, and from here on out, the channel should split into 3 main parts. There's going to be the lore hunting series, where we focus on one aspect of the lore and really figure it out. There's going to be Prepare to Cry, which is my favorite series. It's a series where I tell the story of a character.
So, yeah, so he didn't get into like the pale bloods or the vile bloods. And the ashen blood was specifically a disease that overcame Oldie Arnhem. So let me see if he has like some other stuff. We're also gonna watch Visceral Femininity for sure. But that seems like a decent overview of like the whole game. Which is mostly just like everything is propaganda. Low-key, everything is propaganda. We still have no idea what pale blood is. There are ideas, of course, but it's one of the most obscure pieces of lore in the game. Let me see if Vati has a video on the DLC. And then we can watch. Let's see. The doll has pale blood? If you kill her, she has white blood. Things you missed in Cathedral Ward. Let me just look up Bloodborne DLC lore. Oh, he has like a whole series on the old hunters. That makes sense. I mean, there's a lot in the old hunters. And like, he didn't really get into Canehurst that much either. Bloodborne DLC, Hunt for the Moonlight Greatsword. Moonlight Greatsword. Watch the Pale Blood Hunt. I mean, the doll is somehow a great one. So is Pale Blood Hunt just about the hunt for like what lore has to do with the pale blood? Pale Blood Hunt. A Bloodborne audiobook? Bloodborne lore. It's a 5-hour audiobook? There's also a board game? Bloodborne lore for sleep, the entire Pale Blood Hunt explained. Chapter 2, The Healing Church. Chapter 3, Jura. Chapter 4, Ludwig. Painhurst Castle.
The Pale Blood Hunt.
The
Very
Pale.
moment the stagecoach pulled up to greet you at Hemwick. The journey to
Marian's
Canehurst
Michelash.
Castle and the exploration of the new.
Chapter 10, The Pale Blood.
Chapter 10. The Pale Blood Hunt. Now, let's begin the transfusion.
Let's begin the transfusion. Okay, let's watch Vati's take on the DLC first. He's got 3 videos, I think, on the DLC. That are pretty... This one's 19 minutes. I'm assuming the other was probably pretty similar.
Guys, and welcome to the Old Hunters DLC. It's finally here. I think I've played through about a quarter of it so far, and I just want to share that hunt with you. New weapons, new bosses, new NPCs, and hopefully a new understanding of the hunters who were around when the hunt first began. So let's hunt through it all together, and let's see what we can find. Defeat Vicar Amelia, and the messengers will bring you two
Super
items.
butter buns for
First,
experts.
the eye of a blood-drunk hunter. The pupil has collapsed here, which indicates the onset of the scourge of beasts. A hunter who goes drunk with blood is said to be taken by the hunter's nightmare, destined to wander forever, engaged in an endless, nightmarish hunt. No
Buddhist
hunter can
hell!
escape this fate, apparently. The second item is the Old Hunter Bell. Countless hunters have passed through the dream, but cannot forget the thrill of the hunt. The messengers relay these thoughts, and if you ring the bell by their side, then the hunters are sure to listen, for the night of the hunt is long and unchanging, and this bell closes the gap between worlds. With these items in your inventory, the amygdala outside Cathedral Ward will take you to the Old Hunter's Nightmare, but unlike the Old Hunters before us, we go there as a hunter who has not completely succumbed to bloodlust. That's not what sucked us in. What sucked
We're
us
a
in
tourist!
was this creature that we know is capable of teleporting you.
Curse the fiends, their children too, and their children forever true.
If there's an answer for that dialogue, I haven't found it yet. I don't know who it belongs to. Who is this woman to place a curse upon people? And what curse is she placing? We should remember this for another episode. We arrive in a distorted version of Cathedral Ward and its surroundings. And maybe distorted is the wrong word though. To me, this area strikes me as badly remembered. Imagine if you had to construct a place from memory. You wouldn't get it 100% correct, would you?
Or as if you were viewing it from a dream, hazily remembering the details.
And to me, I
Think
kind of
about
like
it.
to think that
Think about it,
whoever
buddy.
hosts this nightmare had trouble remembering the towers in the distance, so the towers appear tilted and illogical, and gaps in memory are replaced by these rocky hills where there should be man-made paths instead. But this world, this nightmare, it's inhabited just like all the others were. You know, Mikolash's nightmare was inhabited by the puppets that he pulled into the nightmare with him, and also by random hunters who made their way in as well. The geography might be a reconstruction from somebody's memory, but the people within it aren't. This nightmare is full of old hunters, some of the first people to ever fight against the beasts in the first hunts that ever happened. Hunters who, according to the Eye, lost themselves to bloodlust and were pulled into a nightmare where the hunt never ends. And this shows in the gameplay. The hunters and the beasts here are constantly fighting one another, and you can use that to your advantage. The beasts are weak compared to the hunters, but there are so many, so I like to take out the hunters while they're distracted with the beasts, and once you're done with the hunters, you can
Okay,
equip a
Vati, we don't
torch
need
and
tips
deal
and
with the
tricks.
beasts.
We don't need
They'll
tips and
rarely
tricks.
attack you.
Keep going on the Lore
All of
King.
these hunters are wielding weapons and wearing a garb that isn't seen in modern-day Yharnam. You'll find pieces of their equipment throughout the early level, and the old hunter garb in particular is funny. Its description details the superstitions of the first hunters, how some hunters believed that the beastly plague crept up the right leg, so they wrapped a bit of belt around the right leg of their trousers. Some thought that bits of metal on their gloves could ward away the beast blood, and you get the picture. They were a
Whoa.
superstitious bunch back then. The chest piece tells us that one day the hunters disappeared. Drunk with blood, they would pass on to the nightmare, every last one of them. I wonder what's pulling them in. Regardless, these hunters were around
Probably a
in the
great
first days
one.
of the hunt, and this nightmare contains people and the places that existed when the hunt first began, and I really think that inside it we'll find the answer to what started the hunt and why. On this little crop of land, we find our first new weapon, which is the Beast Cutter. It's like a crude, more brutal version of the threaded cane. The weapon is described as regrettably inelegant, which suggests that the earliest hunts were clumsy and bloody and brutal, which certainly wouldn't have helped these hunters resist the bloodshed. Perhaps the refinement of weapons wasn't just so you could deal with beasts efficiently, it would be so you could deal with them more cleanly. Anyway, the world...
Oh, so you could resist the blood more. So would it be possible that there's like a opposing Great One that's against Moon Presence? Like they figured out that Moon Presence is trying to kill other Great Ones, and then this is the anti-Moon Presence trying to trap the hunters here as like a punishment for them going after the Great Ones?
Here is full of twin bloodstone and later bloodstone chunks as well, so if you want to choose a new weapon to upgrade, it could easily be one of these you find in the early DLC, and the DLC continuously bombards you with new weapons.
Pizza
which I really
cutter!
like. It's not like the core game that gives you all the cool weapons at the very end. There are some good weapons at the very start of this DLC, and you find a new one what feels like every 15 minutes or so. So far, most of my enemies have been humanoid, not beasts or monsters, so as a result I definitely recommend the blunderbuss.
Okay, we're good on the blunderbuss. We're good on the blunderbuss.
Before, I accidentally played through all of this stage on a New Game Plus character, and holy shit, this area in New Game Plus on my New Game Plus character reminded me of that. I still haven't beaten the first boss on my New Game Plus character.
Okay, Vati.
So this character, my recommendation to you guys was and look, it's the cleric beast. Here comes a boss fight, right? Any second now. Okay, maybe it starts when I pick up the item. No,
it doesn't! No? Plot twist!
Maybe it starts when I leave.
It's later!
No, it doesn't. Didn't expect
it's
that.
later, and
Maybe
that's
later.
Lawrence Vati.
Anyway, the eye pendant the cleric beast was holding reads, unlocks the surgery altar. The next weapon we find is the boom hammer, and it's waiting for you in front of this old guy. Who is the guy that shoots you when you pick up the item?
Yeah, this is the coolest moment in the whole game. It's so
like,
good.
You're not gonna fool me again.
And then he blows up!
This is different.
That's pretty good.
This weapon reads, crush the beasts, then burn them. The brute simplicity of the boom hammer was favored by hunters with an acute distaste for beasts. This was crafted by the Powder Keg Hunters, one of the first hunter groups, and a lot of descriptions do reference these groups. Bloodborne already has a fairly straightforward timeline. It's not like Dark Souls, which spans hundreds or even thousands of years. Bloodborne's timeline seems like it happens within a century or so, in my opinion. So this DLC answers a lot of questions about the progression through all the different hunter groups and their history, and we even learn that there is a group that came before the Powder Keg Hunters. And it's this beastly enemy we fight next that gives us this information.
The beast
he has
guys.
This enhanced beasthood that I've still yet to learn about. He has a way bigger moveset than the beast claws should give you. I think it's a rune that lets you get into the beast form he's in. Anyway, he's where the central Yharnam lamp would be, where Gilbert would be if this was the real
Gilbert!
world. And he drops the firing hammer badge, which I believe unlocks the timed Molotov cocktails that you saw being thrown around before, and also the piercing rifle, which was, and I quote, developed by the Otto workshop, which was the workshop that came before the Powder Keg Hunter workshop.
And before Gehrman. Simon!
Hunter with your sanity, aren't you? Must have taken a wrong turn, then, eh? Well, we're more alike than you think. This is the hunter's nightmare, where hunters end up when drunk with blood. You've seen them before. Aimless, wandering hunters slavering like beasts. This is what the poor fools have to look forward to. So, don't be brash. Turn back before it's too late. Unless you've something of an interest in nightmares. Yes, as it should be. Hunt your beasts and think no more on the secrets of the night. That is the very best a hunter can do. Just don't let the blood not intoxicate you.
You can say no here. You can say, I'm not interested in nightmares, but then you can also talk to him again to give what is supposedly the right answer, which is apparently, yes, I am interested in nightmares, because he stops talking to you after you say yes.
What now? Oh, take my word and turn back before it's too late. Unless, I suppose, you've taken an interest in nightmares. Oh yes, I see. You sense a secret within the nightmare and cannot bear to leave it be. As if the spirit of Bergenworth lives on within you, such inquisitive hunters will relish the nightmare. But beware, secrets are secrets for a reason, and some do not wish to see them uncovered.
So that's cool to think about how the hunter's nightmare is a separate like dream like reality or area similar to Mikolash's thing and similar to Hunter's dream. All created by Great Ones. But this one was probably created by Koss as a way to punish the hunters that were sent by Moon Presence to kill Great Ones.
Especially when the secrets are particularly unseemly.
This guy will appear later, and he tells us to carry on further into the nightmare, but he warns us that some secrets aren't meant to be found. Secrets hype. Down the Blood River is the Gatling gun hunter who attacks you in the pitch black with this brutal weapon that will stun lock you if you stand anywhere near him. I found the best way was to rotate around the fence, and as soon as it requires going to be a thing now. Further on, you have to fight a small bloodletting beast, and you'll actually want to see what you're shooting at, because it's important to counter this guy with a gun in your left hand. You can use as a short hammer or a sinewy scythe thing, where one of the limbs just flows around
Amygdala's
with
arm.
a ligament attached to it. From is so creative with their weapons. The next two weapons is the Beast Hunter's Safe, which is way better than I thought it would be. It just looks like a short saw cleaver, but its simplest attacks include a lot of little dashes, and everyone knows how important it is in Souls games by holding of the League, and he's the old hunter to Valta, the Beast Eater, by holding L2.
Pizza cutter!
This weapon belongs to Valta, the Beast Eater.
Belongs to this
leader
guy?
of the League, and he's the old hunter you meet in the Forbidden Woods if you went and joined the League when patch 1.07 hit. The League is a co-op covenant, and I'm going to use this guy to help me in my boss fight because I found the boss fight really tough. I haven't had much sleep, so maybe I'm just not fighting very well. But it felt good summoning this guy.
It's easy,
This
Vati.
DLC
Just lock
is
in,
called
Vati.
The Old Hunters, after all. I might as well summon one of them, right? It was nice feeling like I had a teammate against this guy.
He's really trying
So,
to explain the
let's fight them
summoning.
next boss, shall we?
He's like, guys, please don't judge me in the comments.
Please, help us. Alongside this, the great terror looms. Have mercy upon us.
Ludwig is kind of cool because, like, he's seemingly representing both sides of the doctrine. Like, he has all the eyeballs inside him like Willem, but he's also clearly drunk on blood and has become, like, some kind of beast monster. So he's, like, the best of both worlds when it comes to the Great One Ascension shit.
I'm not going to talk too much about the lore in these videos.
Okay,
Just
well...
quickly,
Great, thanks, Vati!
Ludwig was
Thank you so much,
originally the
Vati!
first hunter of the Healing Church, a cleric who became one of the most gruesome beasts. In the first phase of the fight, it's vitally important that you kind of become familiar with his moves
It's actually not, Vati. All you do is hit the B button, and then you hit the R1 button as many times as in a row as you can. As many times in a row as you possibly can. The lyrics to Ludwig's boss theme? How do you look that up? Oh, maybe it'll be in the YouTube comments of it. Yeah. Ludwig theme. Lyrics. Official lyrics and translation. Received from a music producer who worked on Bloodborne. Blade! Like the Moonlight Greatsword! Bro is a Latinist. Overqualified for this. Hunter, Predator, Blood in the Moonlight. Okay, this is basically just saying who he is. He is the hunter. Sword is bathed in blood. Oh. Okay, this is cool, but I think there's other stuff we can be looking at. Oh. Maybe we should just start Visceral Femininity. Maybe we just start Visceral Femininity. Okay, let's watch Visceral Femininity. This is basically explaining all the, like, feminist context and all of the, like, birthing and womanhood moments in Bloodborne, as far as I understand it.
Sooner or later. Part 1. Blood.
Blood!
The home of blood administration.
That's one of the first things we hear when we wake up strapped to a gurney ready for treatment. We're
Administration!
scheduled for a blood transfusion.
Sounds like
and are told that we should
menstruation.
consider all of this a mere bad dream before hallucinating a werewolf rising out of a puddle of blood. Ah yes, the beast within rising to the surface at the full moon. We've all been there.
That's the luteal phase,
Sickly
baby!
people flock to Yharnam for its special blood. So special, in fact, that there's an entire healing church based around it. Blood is life, after all. The whole city is structured like a beautiful capital G Gothic horror. There are towering
W
spires,
blood.
gorgeously
Press 1 in
detailed
chat
stone
if you would get
churches,
addicted to
and
the
winding
blood.
streets made
Wait, I need the captions back.
of cold, unfeeling stone. The Gothic genre usually uses these kinds of set pieces as a vessel for horror, with ghosts wandering abandoned ancestral halls, crypts and backstreets. Places that are cold and filled with a sterile decay. Places long forgotten where the living are an intrusion. At the core of the genre, there's a sense of desolation, of bleakness and impotence. Life is no longer natural here. We see
impotence means you can't get a boner.
House of Usher, where the mansion the Ushers live in has long fallen out of favour with other noble houses, the family fading into obscurity, with their fortune long depleted, and the dilapidated house becoming a presence in its own right. Or in Dracula's uninviting castle, the eponymous vampire himself having to pretend to be all—
Wait, that's literally the Canehurst Castle. That's literally the thing that you ride in. And the horses are alive in the beginning of the cutscene, but then the horses are dead at the end because they were ghosts. Always important to consider the boner angle, I'm saying.
of his servants and drivers now that his home is open only to the undead, or victims that won't be leaving alive. There's even a section of Bloodborne that mirrors his castle, called Canehurst Castle, with an invisible coach driver picking you up from a crossroads, which I'm saying is a reference.
And then the horses are dead.
There have been executed God knows how long ago, and are still wandering around as wailing ghosts, blindfolded with slit throats. The only supposedly living creatures that are still solid—
because Logarius killed them all!
And parasitic mosquitoes bloated with blood, sucking every last drop they can find until they burst like blisters. It definitely feels like the mutant equivalent to the concept of a vampire, gorging themselves on the blood of the peasants.
The compires!
Greedily feeding on other humans turns you into a monster. Same idea, Eldritch Lens.
Ew!
But Bloodborne's Gothic city definitely isn't sterile. It's absolutely soaked in blood and gore. If you play for more than a couple of minutes and remove any hats or masks your character's been wearing, you'll see a line of blood splatter where their skin was exposed. Your clothes are slick with it. The entire city, though slowly dying, is not dying quietly or cleanly. It's currently still got enough life to be squirming.
If I was in Bloodborne, I would get one of those little ponchos that you can get for like $5. I'll wear my little poncho around so I wouldn't get blood or poop on me. And then you come home at the end of the night from your hunt and you're like, honey, I'm home. And then you throw that thing in the trash. And you just buy a new one the next day. The poncho hunter. Yeah, I mean full poncho, bro. Which parts of the boss arena are in the splash zone? It's all the splash zone. The way I'm hunting, it's all the splash zone. And I am paying with tongue. Yes. Yes, I'm paying with tongue. Yes. Do you take Apple Pay? No. Tongue only.
With new breeds of creatures, from the werewolves under the blood moon to the creatures groaning in the sewers, vomiting rot. There's quite the menagerie on Yharnam streets, and as more and more people partake in the communion of the healing church's blood, that beast—
See, you can't tell me a poncho wouldn't be great here. A poncho would be fabulous here, because you don't know what's in these murky waters. You think you know the way ahead? You don't.
Streets, and as more and more people partake in the communion of the healing church's
But you don't get the blood on you? You don't get the goo on you?
As you may have guessed, this isn't human blood. Of course it isn't. It would be unethical to farm human blood to sell as a cure-all.
Well...
No. The church is being far more reasonable. They're just taking it forcibly from some ancient eldritch great ones that were too weak to leave this world with their peers in a
But she's also a woman. She's also a woman. Violence against a woman alien beast is still violence against a beautiful woman. And she has beautiful eyes.
Below the earth in a network of catacombs. God blood. Delicious.
Yummy!
Imbibing some of that special blood will cure whatever ails you, and as a
That's what's in Dr. Pepper. Is God blood.
testament to this, you carry around little vials of it as a healing item for the entire game, injecting yourself whenever you've lost too much blood from being attacked. As you might expect, this is causing some problems for the people using it. Humans weren't really designed for this kind of goop to be in our systems, for healing or otherwise.
Speak for yourself. I'm a vessel for a lot of goop. A lot of goop. Diet Mountain Dew. Protein powder with lead in it.
And over time it mutates the user into something beastly and decidedly inhuman, running on violent, base instinct. As I've talked about in my other videos, violence isn't the only primal instinct of humans. We're social, cooperative creatures at our core, and these beasts are decidedly not. All they have is anger, hunger, fear, rage.
You'll say shit like humans are social, cooperative beings at our core, and then try to play a board game at a function. Just try. Just try. It's not gonna go over well. It's not gonna go over well. How many insight do you get from the Walmart radioactive shrimp? So many. You get like 10. Trust me, it's awesome. You see all kinds of shit after you have the Walmart radioactive shrimp.
Perhaps the feelings of those old ones being bled day after day. As payment for treatment, outsiders coming to seek this healing blood enter a contract to become hunters, hunting down the mutant beasts at night and keeping the streets free of the infected. You can probably see the problem with this too, considering that the hunters are also using copious amounts of blood as the primary healing item in the game.
Everybody's drunk on the awesome opium blood. What's the problem? What's the problem? If we're all high, officer, then what's the problem? If none of us are sober, then is anyone sober? Think about it, officer. Think about it.
But at least they're removing more beasts than their own singular addition to the fray, right?
My friends! The little
By absorbing the
friends!
blood echoes of greater beasts, the hunters seem to delay their own terrifying transformation. But they're no longer fully human. Not anymore. There seems to be several stages
That
of
guy's
transformation
cute.
shown through the game. The people that are still recognizably people stay inside for the duration of the nightly hunt, burning incense in the hope that this will ward off the beasts. The first NPC you can meet,
Gilbert!
is also an outsider, but his
I love
condition
Gilbert.
worsens throughout the night.
And then he becomes a little
Time is
monster.
tangible in the game as the night gets darker and a blood-red moon rises in a bruising sky. People behind the doors get sicker and quieter as the night passes, but once that red moon peaks, barely anyone can form words anymore. Only whimpers, howls, and guttural sounds can be heard through the town's windows. The transformation is complete. If you pass by Gilbert's house, one of the few people who's actively friendly to you, as most Yonomites don't exactly love strangers, and scapegoat them for the beast plague for their impurity, you'll find the bars on his window bent and broken. This is definitely a memorable moment for me, because there's a lamp leading to the hunter's dream just by his house, and no beasts spawn in close enough to notice you. The first time I played,
Except
I put the controller down on
Gilbert!
my lap as the game loaded me in at the lamp, knowing for sure that I'd be safe until I moved my character, then I was answering a text. The drop in my gut as the controller vibrated and I heard a beastly shriek has never left
It's
me.
Gilbert!
Gilbert didn't survive the night after all. Poor guy. The church isn't the only way you can access this special blood either. There's two women who you can guide to a safe chapel, Ariana and Adela. One is a sex worker, the latter a holy woman. Both will offer you their blood as thanks for saving them, but the catch is you can only take one at a time, and Adela gets very upset if you favor a lady of the night over her. If you take Ariana's blood 3 times, Adela will straight up murder her whilst you're gone, to punish her for her generous impurity. Perceived impurity, anyway. The purity of blood is important in Yarnum.
She attacks you too?
Tainted
That's
blood walks you
crazy.
into a monster, as we can see from the streets, but there's also the church's worship of the Great Ones and their blood. The aspiration to be close to them drives the most devout, the ones most concerned with purity who take too much and turn into something neither beast nor god. Adela hates you favoring a common whore's blood over her own strictly enforced purity, and this doctrine puts Ariana's life in serious danger.
And that's women on women violence. That's the game talking about women on women violence, which is real and bad. Because women hold each other to a higher standard and then do shit like this. Because Adela's like, I'm better than some common whore. I'm better than some common whore because I'm doing all this shit to make my blood pure and awesome. But in reality, they're both just two working girls. They're both just two working girls with a job. They're just two working girls with a damn job. Adela's job is no more holy than Ariana's job. They're both just members of this society trying to survive. And the church taught them to hate and pit them against each other to distract them from the real villains in this scenario, which is, again, the church, which is draining them of their blood and selling it on the street as a cure, when really it's the problem.
However, something very interesting happens to Ariana if you keep her alive until the blood moon rises. She gives birth to a great one.
She's pregnant!
I don't exactly know what this celestial little goo baby is.
It's a goo baby!
Ariana definitely wasn't pregnant at the start of the game. Something in her blood has determined her a suitable vessel for the Great Ones to have a child with her, though. Something
It's because she's related to Cainhurst. She's related to Castle Cainhurst.
not quite human in her line. That castle I mentioned earlier used to be filled with vile bloods, creatures that look human enough, but are basically the game's equivalent to vampires.
Vampires!
Their
Vampires!
queen, Annalise, last of her kind, is still hanging out there, and you can join her covenant by drinking her blood, exchanging bodily fluids. That's got some sexual implications there, doesn't it? Annalise wants you to hunt down.
Did we give her our bodily fluids? I didn't think it was an exchange. I thought she was just giving it to me. And I was taking the blood. I didn't think that I was exchanging anything in return. We only take hers, which is another metaphor. Which is another metaphor. Vampire facials are so back. Okay, that's not what the exchanging of fluids was about. Stay focused, YouTube chat. YouTube chat, stay focused. Stay focused. The dregs look like sperm if you look at it. It's her bloodline. Bro. But it's representing the fact that she is still just like giving her blood. And women gotta give all their blood. You PvP, you steal semen from other players. What a game. Pig fisting, semen stealing, killing a newborn baby on top of his mother, who he also controls lightning through. Killing another woman and her newborn baby. Taking her shoes after. Yeah. Compires. What a game.
Blood dregs for her, which you can get by killing other hunters like yourself, or NPCs, most of whom are again, hunters. But look at the image of the blood dreg we get in the menu. It looks like it's full of sperm cells.
Oh!
Annalise is the last of her kind, and it seems like she wants to use these dregs to have a child.
She was impregnating
She's undead,
us all
but
along?
That's probably not that much of a barrier to the Great Ones, who don't need to abide by human laws of existence. The chapel you send Ariana to is in the name of Erden, who's known as the Formless One. So, yeah, corporeal form doesn't even seem to be necessary, considering Ariana's unexpected pregnancy.
She got pregnant by
I found a
Erden!
note saying that every Great One loses its child and yearns for a surrogate, and that seems to be what's happened to Ariana, and what
Cumpires wasn't an exaggeration. Turns out Cumpires was lore accurate.
Annalise is actively trying to become a vessel for, through her blood and the blood of the hunters.
My god, we're
Ariana
pregnant.
could be some distant relation to Annalise.
Because she wears the dress! She wears the dress! It's the
To
dress!
account for her suitability as a surrogate mother.
Dude, I love Bloodborne and Dark Souls, like, lore connections, because it's like, these things would not hold up in court. Like, Ariana just wearing a dress that so happened to look like a woman from hundreds of years ago who lived in a castle would not connect them in any way. But in this game, it's like, they wore the same dress, they're related, and that's why the... You know what I mean? Like, it sounds so funny and silly. Like, it's for sure the image of, like, the cork board filled with all of the red lines. Like, that would not hold up in court. But in the court of Dark Souls lore, yeah, baby. That's evidence, baby. That'll send you to prison.
But where Ariana is naive to all of this, the blood dreg item says that Annalise partakes in these blood dreg offerings so that she may one day bear the child of blood, the next vile blood heir.
Or a great one!
It's an entirely optional area that you can totally miss. The way to reach it, though, is, you guessed it, another celestial pregnancy.
Yes, W celestial
That clinic you
pregnancy!
wake up in at the beginning of the game is run by a kindly doctor, a lady named Josefka. She
Or
administers
so
blood
you
to
think.
her patients and cares for them, even slipping you some of her enhanced private stash that gives your health an extra boost, but she won't let you in. Once the hunt begins, she prioritizes the safety of her patients and can't allow any contamination. So, sorry, you're on your own, good hunter.
The patients here in my clinic must not be exposed to infection.
Later though, if you come back, a slightly different voice speaks through the door. She sounds similar enough, but I have an auditory memory and you are not Yosefka, ma'am.
Upon my Hippocratic oath, if they are yet human, I will.
She is trying to do the voice though. Wait.
Cure them.
As well as the window lights subtly changing, this kind lady has changed her tune and tells you to bring anyone in need of help to her clinic so she can treat them. So much for avoiding contamination. But later you can break in through the back door and find her in a birthing position on a gurney, and she's really into it.
Don't you see how they writhe inside my head? It's rather rapturous.
W birthing. W the miracle of childbirth.
Once you dispatch her and are free to explore the rest of the clinic, you'll find an invitation to Canehurst Castle on another gurney, and remarkably, it's already addressed to you.
How would they know that?
Really?
Because they're vampires.
But she definitely knew some things she wasn't supposed to. She's interested in advancing humanity to be closer to the Great Ones, experimenting on anyone you send to her supposed safe place, and preparing to birth one of their children. This whole idea of eyes on the inside and being able to see more than an ordinary person is something the scholars of Yharnam are particularly invested in, wanting to use the blood of the Great Ones to push humanity out of its infancy and use it to ascend into something, well, greater. They want to push the bounds of knowledge, but in true Eldritch horror fashion, some things are just beyond the scope of the human mind.
That's what I'm saying, the dinosaurs!
Experience and existence to make
They
sense
should
of.
not recreate the dinosaurs!
Built into the game too with a meter
Leave the
marker in
dinosaurs
hand.
out of this!
This is your insight. Too little, and you're going to miss some of the weirder things around Yharnam that are going to be too much for your fragile little mind.
Make contact
Too much,
mention!
and
Make
you're gonna have
contact
to
mention!
confront some things. Ignorance
contact
might just
mention.
be bliss here. The way you level up is through accumulating the blood of creatures you've slaughtered, and to do that you need to speak to the doll in the Hunter's Dream.
The
A hub of
doll!
sorts that has a workshop for hunters to mend their weapons and experiment, connecting them to all the game areas. The doll is only animate if you have at least one insight. You can still level up through her if she's sleeping, but she acts as the first incongruity with the norm, a living doll wanting to look after you, and she can channel blood through herself into your flesh, helping mutate you into a better hunter, bringing you closer to the Great Ones on a drip feed. Speaking of transfusions, like I mentioned earlier, injecting yourself with blood is the primary healing mechanic here, but with Yharnam being the home of blood ministration, there's a very important part of healing that we're forgetting about. Blood ministration is based around healing with blood, both with adding blood to the body, but also bleeding a body to health. Victorian doctors are infamous for their love of leeches, and
Yeah, leeches and bloodletting!
Originally, menstruation.
Whoa!
If you have periods or are close to someone that does, you're probably pretty familiar with just how much PMS sucks. Intense emotions, mood swings, crampings, cravings, and just feeling generally crappy and hormonal. The only way to get rid
beat
of
his
it is to
ass!
wait for your period
Sorry.
to finally happen, and suddenly it all disappears with the arrival of blood. This ended up getting translated as the toxins being bled out of a person, as suddenly all of the terrible feelings and symptoms were flushed out with the blood. Some sort of natural cleansing or detox. It's not correct, but it's an observable pattern that with less medical knowledge makes complete sense to find a link with. You're bleeding the bad stuff out to make the person healthy again. One thing
That's crazy! I always thought that... I never thought why the medieval thing is like bloodletting and leeches, but I guess that makes sense. That they were like, well, the woman gets mad and angry, but then after her period, she's chill again. So this probably also works for everyone else. Like, what? That's crazy. I never like made that link that like they thought that people having periods meant that just getting rid of blood in general would be kind of good. They really invented the myriad. They said, sorry, my dick bleeding. Kinda slay.
thing I noticed playing Bloodborne is that pretty much all of the beasts that still look like townsfolk to some degree are coded as male. All of the partially mutated people have deeper sounding voices, wear trousers, or scraps of them at this point.
Hey,
Too mutated.
Anybody can wear trousers if they want to. Anybody just tuned in. Is Bloodborne period positive? Always was, baby. Always was. Always was. Always was period positive. Instead of ending all the periods with ceaseless discharge, we just became the periods. You either end periods forever for everyone, or you become it. Think about it.
Tell, but none are marked as specifically feminine in any way. Well, all except Vicar Amelia, but given her devoutness, that's to be expected.
Well, that's because boys can have periods. Lock in!
We see her on her knees, reciting prayers specifically about the old blood, right up until the moment she transforms into
Bro
one of
has
the
no
game's
idea about
bosses.
myriads.
I'm guessing she imbibed a lot more blood than the average layperson, especially given her church rank is in her boss title. We know she was close to the source of blood, and her original concept had her as Saint Laura rather than a vicar. She even continues to grip a symbol of her faith that marks her as successor to the head of the healing church throughout her fight, so yeah, I'd say she's a bit of an outlier. It's just a theory, but perhaps people in the town who menstruated had some sort of natural protection against the old blood's effects if they didn't take much of it, bleeding out some of the toxin.
Wait!
The whole story does revolve around blood after all. Perhaps it was simply that the men were delegated to the traditional role of protecting their families, and so they're the only ones we encounter on the street. But I find it an interesting enough coincidence that I suspect there's a link. Replaying it after writing this, I realised I'd forgotten about the women of Hemwick Charnel Lane.
True! These women are annoying.
They're
just
certainly
crazy.
blood-drunk and full of, enthusiasm for their trade, cremating and burying bodies, but no beasts here. They're more dangerous and faster than their male counterparts, though. Far more aggressive. If the wiki is to be believed, then they're unaffected by the beast plague beyond the madness the moon is inflicting on everyone, even the uninfected people in the houses. But the women we do see drunk on blood are far more sensitive to it, so that's pretty cool. They don't need a beast form, they'll just go for the throat regardless. Hopefully I don't need to draw you a diagram to link blood to the visceral femininity that many people don't want to think about, but this brings us neatly into our next section. Part 2. Lunar Cycles.
Lunar cycles!
Devil meant troll, troll meant werewolf, werewolves mean the horror of flesh splitting where you least expect it.
Childbirth!
As I mentioned, the game comes in 3 major sections depending on the state of the moon. As the
The
night
luteal
progresses, more and
phase.
more monstrous things begin to happen, and the more virile and dangerous the beasts you encounter are. Naturally, this works well in a game progression sense, as you're facing more dangerous enemies as you improve, but it's threaded really well into the narrative. The first section is largely based around sunset. The moon is just rising as you get the hang of how everything works and have time to mull on what the heck pale blood is, and then swiftly forget about it.
Yeah,
as your
what the
night's
heck
taken
is
up by
pale
the myriad
blood?
creatures who'd love to take a chunk out of your throat. The second section's only triggered after killing the aforementioned Vicar Amelia. Once you kill her and touch the once human skull on the cathedral altar, you'll see a vision
It's
of the
Lawrence!
past. Vicar Amelia's predecessor,
Lawrence!
being warned to fear the old blood, a phrase which became an essential adage to the church and serves as a password to the next area. Do not take the blood lightly. Respect that you are playing within human forces.
Fear the old blood.
With this dire warning, the moon rises and night truly falls on Yharnam, and the
And
creatures
this guy
we
was really
face
dead.
become less and less recognizably human.
He was actually
Thinking
dead.
about moonlight and monsters, I inevitably think of the werewolf.
Yo,
The
Twilight!
monsters seen as humans, controlled
Wait,
by the
W
moon,
Twilight.
a vicious revealing of our bloody history as hunters and pack carnivores. I really like werewolves because they're a fictionalized version of a wolf in sheep's clothing, of a monster blending in with the flock right up until the moment they bite. They're a primal creature, built of the fear of devolving into beasthood and the loss of rational control, pure instinct. They're on the edges of humanity. But often when I see werewolves in fiction, they're men, despite the fact that lunar cycles and volatile mood are obviously linked to menstruation, which in terms of themes is feminine.
Think about it!
And menstruation itself is often seen as something taboo and inappropriate to discuss. It's one of those under-the-table kind of things, despite half the population experiencing it.
I'm saying!
There's a lot of work work being done to normalize it these days, but it's still seen as kind of icky. We don't look at that. We don't want to talk about it, despite it being a perfectly natural process, and yes, there is a time and a place for everything. But, like the Eldritch secrets of the University in Bloodborne, only those in the know tend to be the ones who are allowed to talk about it. And, gamers stereotypically tend to be boys and young men who probably don't want to talk about icky girl stuff. And part of that is likely because they've never
Gamers
had to
can be awesome
exposed to
women
it,
too.
so it's alien and disgusting and doesn't match with the image of women they've been presented with. There's a fundamental mismatch between traditional sweet femininity and not batting an eye at waking up in a puddle of blood every so often. The whole girls faint at the sight of blood thing has always confused me because
this is one of the best characters in Game of Thrones. I loved her so much. This is a spoil. Okay, if you haven't watched Game of Thrones, I didn't really watch Game of Thrones, but my parents watched Game of Thrones, and I passively would stop by in the living room and see this character on screen and be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna watch because she's awesome." Well, they killed her in a really, like, lame way. Anyways, continue.
what exactly do you expect people who menstruate to be doing for a week every month? Spend it on the bathroom floor?
Oh, girls see more blood than boys.
I see a lot of people
So true.
circling back
She's
to the
locked
lore
in.
and the Great Ones and the secrets being kept and mined out of the depths of Yharnam, but not much about the associations between moons, mothers, and monsters. And speaking of monthly conditions, I think there's something to be said about the idea of becoming a werewolf being healing as well. They're that part of you that's allowed to
Dude, I bet if you are a werewolf and you become a werewolf, that probably feels pretty good. It probably feels like letting out a fart. You know, like when you're at a function and you can't fart, but then you get to a safe location, you can save your game and let out your fart. Like, that's probably what it feels like to be a werewolf and then release your werewolf.
snap when someone crosses a boundary, the part that's filled with the righteous anger a lady's never supposed to admit she has. The savagery becomes the most talked about part of the legend, but I think part of that is the fear that deep down, humans are beastly, and that's something the game is very concerned with. That we might devolve into base creatures that only lust after blood and carnage, which is definitely something we're all drawn to and often entertained by. Of course we are. You're playing this game, aren't you? Or at the very least,
yeah,
you're
violence
interested in
is
hearing me
awesome in
talk
video
about it.
games.
The wolf part, the primal part, the beastly thing lurking under the skin is terrifying, and you know, to fit into society, you have to be better than that. There's shame bound up in that too. You have to be restrained. You often have to deny that part even exists.
You do, and that's when you hold in your
That loves
fart.
you, that's part of your pack, who's loyal and defends you until its dying breath. What about the wolf who raised you, who will kill anyone threatening her pups?
What about The Wolf Among Us? A Telltale video game about some guy. What about that? This just makes me want more female werewolves in fiction. That would be awesome.
What about the pack you go out for coffee with and howl together about all the little things that are stressful or bringing you joy? What about the wolf you curl up in bed and indulge your most primal instincts with?
Whoa, chill.
What about the wolf inside you that
Chill.
loves and protects you and stubbornly bites whatever gets too close to keep you safe? Does that make you a monster? Externally, werewolves are everything a woman shouldn't be in society. They're brutish and have monstrous appetites. They're violent, hairy, and uncontrollable. They're animals. Ariana lets us know that Yharnam has some of our world's sensibilities. for what's
Inside you, there are
appropriate for a
two
lady.
wolves, basically.
Visiting her window before the moon is properly up as a female hunter will have her respond with,
I'm off during hunts, and besides, this is no place for ladies.
Or is it?
Wouldn't want to drag you down too.
She knows her place in society is on its outskirts, even though her services are clearly in demand despite her being looked down on for providing them. She's not a capital L lady, despite being dressed like one, and she's aware that associating with her might drag you down too. Reputation matters here. Being a lady matters. I also find it super interesting that she can smell you through the window, and she's not the only one. Several people comment on your scent, and the chapel keeper, who hosts the only genuine safe place, can tell you're a hunter thanks to your smell, even through the copious amounts of incense, and he's blind. He knows you're friendly purely through your smell. I thought at first that maybe it was because you were covered in beast blood, but then you'd smell like a beast, wouldn't you? And Ariana clearly differentiates it from the stench of blood and beasts. There's something primal in recognizing a stranger by their scent, too. There's some sort of scent marking that's unique to hunters, whose veins are full of blood echoes converted through the living doll in the dream. A hunter's daughter recognizes your scent as well because you smell like her father, Gascoigne, a hunter you have to kill yourself after he loses himself to the hunt, the bloodlust taking over him completely like a werewolf in the moonlight.
That is interesting to think that the hunters have their own distinct smell. Wait, that's crazy. Them being able to smell you through the window is like when your cat sniffs your foot and they do the thing where they open their mouth. You know when cats smell something particularly dank and they open their little mouths? They sniff your sock or your foot and they're like, eek. Like kind of an insult. It's like, okay, bro, it's not that crazy. Like you're being dramatic. You're being dramatic. It's not that crazy. It does not stink like that. Chill. Being moon-scented seems to be a thing. Moon-scented hunter.
His fight has 3 phases, with him becoming more aggressive in each stage, but the most alarming one is definitely when he suddenly snarls and his skin splits as his body shifts into a huge beast that immediately lunges for your face.
He's a beast!
There's one thing that ties him back to his humanity though, and it's the little music box his daughter gives you to help identify him. If you play the tune to him, he flinches back and whines as if you're hurting his ears, or perhaps he's ashamed or confused for a moment. Something is pulling on the human part of him, on his human experiences and love for his family. But, don't spam it and try to forcibly yank him out of his blood-drunk state, because he will transform into his tanky beast state with over 70% health. Learn from my mistakes. Over time, hunters end up inevitably giving in to their lust for blood.
Yeah, isn't it 3 times? If you play it 3 times, then he goes straight to his beast stage. That's interesting.
Blood. The more they hunt, the more blood they spill and take in, the more proficient they get. They forget that these creatures were human once. They take pleasure in their skill and the thrill of the hunt. They get drunk on the enhancing blood and start to turn themselves.
Just like a beast
But we
would!
need a character who serves as a guardian in that respect.
Eileen the Crow!
Eileen the Crow is a hunter of hunters.
W.
killing
Eileen the
off those who lose
Crow!
themselves to the hunt. She's appropriately dressed like a plague doctor, a beaked mask protecting her face against the splatter of blood. Maybe she stuck a ball of incense at the bottom of the beak, like real plague doctors did with herbs.
Wait, that's smart.
She's been at this a while, and if you complete her questline fully, you take on her role when she's mortally wounded. Like many of the hunters you meet around the world, she's no longer connected to the dream, and so only has one life remaining. Falling to a beast or a blood-drunk hunter means game over for her, but still, she treads the beat of the
Don't remind me, bro. Seriously, don't remind me, and don't show Henrik on my screen. Please don't show Henrik on my screen for the love of God. Hunters must hunt. A hunter must hunt. So true.
the hunt night after night. If you attack her and make her aggressive, she'll ask you to tell the little doll I said hello as you dissolve into nothing, so...
That's so cool. That's so cool.
She's lived the same night over and over, just like you, but now she's entered a different phase. For you,
she's locked
this
in.
is foreseeably an endless cycle of death after death, taking in more and more blood as you learn and change. But for Eileen, though the hunt continues night after night, it has an endpoint. And that endpoint is unkind. She knows there'll be no reward for her work, only the inevitable death that awaits her when she's finally outmaneuvered as she gets older and slower, but she does it anyway because she wants to stop the endless suffering. Even if you mess up her quest and have to fight her, her voice lines still indicate that she wants to break this cycle of death.
The nightmare is here. Only I can stop this madness.
Death to hunters! Enough of this terrible dream!
That's
But
cool.
for hunters that are too far gone and filled with bloodlust, there's a far worse fate than being picked off by Eileen, and that takes
Going
the
to
form of the
Hunter's Nightmare.
The dread I felt on buying the DLC and entering an area bathed in sunlight. Like, that feels so viscerally wrong after playing through a long night full of terrors. I love that. Sunlight's usually the signal that you're safe now and everything will be okay.
And everything's more dangerous.
Boy, was it unnerving. Your deeds are out in the open now. There's no cover from the beast, no masking the violence.
They know what you did.
You are seen.
They know what you did.
And the ones that find themselves here have been judged inhuman. It opens with a version of the main game's areas, but covered in what might be washed up waves of clay or driftwood, warping the landscape you'll have become intimately familiar with over the course of the game. The moon's reign over the people isn't broken here, it's permanent. The cycle has ended with the needle pointing firmly to hunt. But the reason this nightmare's even appeared in the first place is a punishment from the Great Ones themselves. Not for the hunt, but for what started it. Which brings us to...
Moon presence! And cause!
Babies.
Babies!
Cursed fiends, their children too.
Oh. So is that voice meant to be Cos?
Forever true.
Important disclaimer here. Whilst pregnancy and motherhood are wonderful things, and yearning for a child is a huge motivator for the plot in Bloodborne, I want to make it clear that I do not think they are the be-all and end-all of a person's life. Your life can be complete without children.
True.
You can have biological, adopted, or fostered kids, or just be that really cool aunt that drops by often.
True.
You can be the babysitter. You can just not like kids. As
Fair.
long as you treat them like people, fucking whatever. But please, keep any trad wife and gender-critical bullshit out of my comment section. A bunch of overlapping health factors means it would actually be quite dangerous for me to be pregnant, and I've had one or two uninformed and not medically qualified people tell me that having a baby would fix my chronic illness because that's what I was biologically designed for.
Whoa.
Which is disgusting.
That's crazy,
you don't create
bro.
life to fix yourself or a relationship. But also, being pregnant
That's how you
might actually
traumatize your
kill me,
children.
the baby, or both
Traumatizing
of
your
us.
children to speedrun.
And while that doesn't matter much to me, because I genuinely don't want kids, for some people that will be utterly heartbreaking. Some people are desperate to be mothers and parents, but simply can't be. Nobody's designed to have children. If you have a functioning uterus, you're capable of carrying children, but it's not your purpose. We're conscious creatures who get to choose our own priorities, and for some people, that's having 6 kids and devoting your life to raising them all with love.
6
For
kids is a
others,
lot of kids.
Children just aren't a factor. Also, like I mentioned in the intro, pregnancy kinda squicks me out. Another being growing slowly inside of me, leeching my energy and rearranging my organs is... Nope, don't like that. That's some eldritch horror right there. Respect to anyone who willingly goes through that mess, but no
Is
thank
Norman
you.
Reedus and his fetus?
Meanwhile, back at the plot. We're told that every Great One loses its child and yearns for a surrogate, and that these eldritch unknowable beings are using the Beast Plague as a way to replace their lost children. At Bergenworth, the college which discovered the source of the old blood, you can find a note that says, "When the red moon hangs low, the line between man and beast is blurred, and when the Great Ones descend, a womb will be blessed with child." This whole plague changes who can be an acceptable surrogate mother for their children, making humanity more compatible with the Great Ones, who all seem to be unique from each other. But, like, I don't know the rules of eldritch morphology. I have no idea which ones are sexually compatible with each other, and I'm sure the internet has made charts for that or something, but I am consciously choosing not to look. No insight here. I've seen what you people draw with tentacles. Once the Great Ones were discovered, the need to know more, to understand these creatures, led to the unleashing of the Beast Plague because the Bergenworth scholars couldn't resist overreaching. Curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction drove it to insanity as the cat tried to comprehend the unknowable, and then the cat grew a bunch of eyes on both the inside and the outside.
And the pigs!
Anyway,
These are the pigs you guys love. You guys love these
more
pigs.
insight into these miraculous entities, and when Kos the Great One washed up on the shoreline of a fishing hamlet, and strange stories were spreading about the locals a la Innsmouth, Bergenworth dived right in. They sent the first hunters to cut the villages open in search of mutations and internal eyes, ripping apart man and beast alike for knowledge and secrets.
The
But their worst
shark!
transgression was taking Kos's still embryonic child from her to study. In this ultimate sacrilegious act, the hunter's nightmare was born, imprisoning every hunter who loses themselves to their worst instincts, just as the scholars followed theirs for personal gain. And hunters are very much painted as monsters here, as several humanoid creatures raise their arms to cover their faces
Yeah, they're
and back away
afraid.
when you approach. They're still lucid enough to know what you are and that you want to hurt them. And if you run in all guns blazing, excited to tackle this new area, you might just miss it. Even if
I
you
didn't
let them
miss
live,
it.
the enemy hunters trapped in the nightmare will just slaughter them anyway.
Yep.
And you'll know even if you can't see, because the echoes still feed into your meter. Interestingly, they're the same types of creatures that a retired hunter, Jura, is actively protecting in Old Yarnum outside of the nightmare. When the beast plague became a major problem, a lot of the old city was burned to contain the spread, and the older districts that had been built on top of over the years was simply sealed off. Jura's there watching over the beasts, insisting that it's not right to kill them, because they were people once, and they can't hurt anyone whilst they're locked away down here. If he sees you attack any beast, he'll start firing at you with a Gatling gun from the top of the clock tower throughout the entire area. But you can make him friendly.
So, what happened in the Hunter's nightmare was something that happened in real life, and then the nightmare was created as a punishment for what they did. Because the Hunters cut the orphan of Kos out of Kos's body that washed up on the shore of the fishing village, and then they experimented on it. So then they created Hunter's nightmare to trap all the hunters with the orphan of Kos and all the enemies as their punishment for messing with the Great One. It's implied that Gehrman was the one that cut the stillborn out of Kos. He was there either way. And he did host the Orphan of Kos at least in his nightmares. They cut up the poor villagers who had been altered due to the Great One. And then Moon Presence gave partial life to the doll in exchange for his service in the... That's nuts. But like, they really created an excellent punishment. Like, think about it. Imagine being locked in a realm with Orphan of Kos for your whole life. That would suck so bad. Lady Maria says a corpse should be left well alone. Oh. Hunter's Nightmare is a series of vignettes into past horrors at the hands of the hunters in the Healing Church, functioning in an endless purgatory. The Bergenworth scholars committed hella war crimes in the fishing hamlet. So true. So true. That's cool. I hadn't realized that Hunter's Nightmare was like a time capsule of the past. But I guess that makes sense. Because Vati was talking about the past generations of hunters. Curse the fiends and their children too. Probably just a female villager of the town. Hi, Pickle. Pickle is a villager of the fishing village. And Maria throws her weapon down the well and then basically, oh, like in her fight, how she like stabs herself because she couldn't live with the horrors. But then she gets trapped in the horrors. War crimes.
By being a pacifist. The beasts are less friendly. But I find it really interesting that the ones that are protected in the dream don't initially attack at the start of the nightmare section.
I should think you still have dreams. Well, the next time you dream, give some thought to the hunt and its purpose.
That's from Jura,
Why
right?
are you doing this? What is this pale blood you're searching for?
Yeah, what is the pale blood?
At this point in the game, did you even remember that's what drew you to Yharnam?
Yeah, no, I didn't remember it.
The overarching theme of the DLC is secrets and forbidden knowledge, and what parts of ourselves we're willing to lose in order to reach them. The final boss of the DLC is a manifestation of Kos's infant child, screeching and wailing and, beating you to death with a briny, eye-encrusted placenta.
Yeah, and he
That's
does
very
screeching
not
well,
good.
bro. And he does
But
screeching
it's also a
well.
continuation of every child we see being killed or taken from its mother in the main game. For a start, the main protector of the secrets of the Scholars of Bergenworth takes the form of Rom, the vacuous spider. She's not a great one, but she is kin, so she can only exist on one plane of existence, whereas great ones can kinda be wherever, however. Kin also happen to
We're
be
meant
the whitish
to be
fluid inside the
together.
blood you
Yeah,
might
W.
expect. Pale blood. we found it. Though it only seems to be for her head, her body bleeds red. I've tried looking up exactly what ROM is online, but there seems to have been endless debate on that front since the game launched, with contradictions on both wikis and many discussions on Reddit and other forums, so yeah, take that she is kin with a hefty grain of salt.
She's something.
But even though she's largely
we
an
love her
empty vessel,
anyways.
vacuous, or at this point perhaps a shell emptied in order to be puppeted by an actual Great One, she has a lot of babies. So many.
Yeah.
They swarm and guard her, and most of her fight will be spent fending them off if you want to do their mother any damage. Another mother holding arcane secrets. Once you've broken the seal by killing Rom, that's when the red blood.
Then
moon
you see
descends.
another mother holding
We hear a
secrets.
baby crying in the distance, and see a lady all in white, blood trailing from her abdomen, beginning to cry as well. This is Queen Yharnam, presumably who the city was named for, as we never see her alive. The bloodstain across her abdomen and bound hands suggest that she too had her baby taken from her against her will, perhaps even before he was born. Separating mothers and babies seems to be the worst infringement on the natural order.
They're doing it crazy
always leads
style.
to tragedy here. If Ariana has her
The most convincing interpretation of pale blood I've read beyond the literal they have pale blood is that it's a nickname or code name for the moon presence. Yeah, I guess that makes sense because that's the only way that you break the cycle is by becoming the goo baby slug at the end of the game. Because if you just defeat Garamond without becoming the goo slug, then you then become the arbiter of the cycle. You step into Garamond's role and continue the cycle of hunters being reborn. And if you refuse, you just go back to being a guy. But the only way to transcend is by eating the umbilical cords and killing moon presence. So pale bloods might like originate from moon presence?
baby, killing the child immediately kills her too.
I did notice that, and I did try to just kill the goo baby, and it did not work. It did not work. Because it's imagery linking mothers to their children. And about how motherhood can be primal because you feel a primal love to protect your baby.
There's an inherent link between them. What one suffers, so does the other.
So true. And then you steal her shoes.
We don't see much
Then you
of
get her
Queen Yharnam.
Jordans.
She's always accompanied by her child's cry, both of them already long dead. It's implied that her baby, Murgo's cry, is what pulls the moon closer, but I don't know if it had to be Murgo in particular. Perhaps the cry of any great...
I'm watching this video about Bloodborne and periods. Yeah, it's about periods and shit. Yay! I'm almost done with the video. Okay. You surely meant to save her, seeing as you instantly took her shoes. I did try! But her shoes are awesome, and I did wear them for the rest of the game. The note says the nameless moon presence beckoned by Lawrence and his associates, Pale Blood. The game starts with seek Pale Blood to transcend the hunt. Yeah, I think that's the most convincing evidence that Pale Blood is linked to the moon presence. Well, number one, because the moon is pale. Think about that. And also because that's what you use to transcend the hunt at the end. Because in the other two endings, you don't necessarily transcend it. You just either complete the cycle or become a part of continuing the cycle.
One's child would have done the trick. His and his mother's spirit seem to be trapped in the hunt, and it's implied that Murgo was either stillborn or forcibly removed from his mother's womb before he was ready to be born. In either case,
oh, and then you behold the pale blood sky, which is what the moon looks like also when you see moon presence. Wait. That's crazy.
he didn't survive. His wet nurse, though, is alive and kicking. Or slashing.
She is
She's guarding
slashing.
his empty pram and is very determined to keep you away from it. I really
Pram,
love her design.
British
It's very
person
ornate,
spotted.
And she shares some similarities with Yharnam's boss fight, in that she can copy herself to distract you.
British person
Admittedly,
spotted.
I've never fought Queen Yharnam because she's way down in the Chalice dungeons as extra content, and anyone who's played Bloodborne knows how much of a slog they are.
Nah, they're pretty enjoyable.
Technically endless content with cut
The naked guy! Wait, W the naked guy.
Thanks to the lack of designed enemy placement to accommodate the randomness, and the rooms and mini-bosses repeat over and over ad nauseum. Maybe that's the true eldritch madness of Bloodborne, banging your head against the chalice dungeons for tiny insights into the lore.
Nah.
Anyway, Queen Yharnam's boss fight has you fight her while she's still pregnant with Murgo, and his cries can paralyze you. When she makes a clone of herself to avoid taking damage, it seems she can't copy Murgo, can't separate herself from him, or perhaps isn't willing to, and so you can tell who you need to stab by the baby bump, which is kinda messed up.
That's kinda fucked.
Her dress is completely white, but gets increasingly bloodier the more damage she takes, and when she's hurt enough, she can use her own blood to make her dagger more potent. Lady Maria in the Nightmare pulls a similar trick, fighting with her own blood and setting streams of it on fire.
Whoa, that's her own blood?
I've ever seen. But it seems that some people with strange blood can use it very creatively. All of the gems you use to enhance your weapons have
she has
blood
fire
molded into
blood.
them, so blood is an active part of every hunter's arsenal, not just for healing. It's interesting to note that.
Oh, that's why she stabs herself. To get her own blood on her sword, then she throws her blood at you and then lights it on fire. Wait, that's sick. That's awesome.
Maria is also related to the Canehurst nobles and Vilebloods, like Ariana is.
The Vilebloods!
I guess she decided to use her blood as an advantage in combat.
That's
All
cool.
Of her weapons rely on precision and dexterity, controlled motions rather than wild or reckless swordplay.
And farts, and the
She was
farts.
staunchly disciplined, perhaps to stave off the madness associated with her lineage, and ended up unable to continue hunting after the guilt of killing Cos and her child, throwing her weapons down a well when she could no longer stomach them, and ending her own life.
Oh.
Now in the Nightmare, she's protecting that final secret of the fishing hamlet, to keep that knowledge locked away, like Rom does for Byrgenwerth. She appears dead when you encounter her, dripping blood from her neck and wrists in an apparent suicide, but getting close to her will wake her right up. The only thing she says to you is
she's
both a
trapped in the
warning and
nightmare.
admission of guilt.
A corpse should be left well alone.
Wait! Because they did crazy stuff to Cos and the orphan of Cos, and so she's admitting her crimes that got her locked into the nightmare, but she's also telling you that you shouldn't have waked her the fuck up because she's gonna rock your shit. Wait, that's really cool. Wait, that's super cool. That's cinema. She's talking about herself, but it's also her regret about what they did. Wait, that's kind of cinema. Wait a minute. There's levels to it. There's something to this Bloodborne shit, I swear. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Oh, I know very well how the secrets beckon so sweetly.
And she's the same voice actor as the doll because Gehrman made the doll in her image. And Gehrman also fucked with Cos. And he's also locked in a nightmare because he... So wait, did Gehrman make a deal with the Great One, Moon Presence, to get him out of Hunter's nightmare but into another nightmare? He wasn't dead. Okay, so yeah, he would have had to have been dead to get himself locked in this nightmare. Got it. So she probably died and then he went to Hunter's dream as some kind of escape or something. Or he wanted some kind of salvation. But then he ended up getting himself in a whole other situation.
Only an honest death will cure you now. Liberate you from your wild curiosity.
She clearly regrets what she did to Cos and the villagers, and doesn't want anyone else to fall for the lure of forbidden knowledge, forgetting the human and ethical
So the research hall was like experiments done specifically on the people from the fishing village, not necessarily just like random Yarnamites, Yarnaminians, Yarnamers. Oh, they're both. The Yarnamaniacs.
Cost. She seems to be trying to atone somewhat by taking care of the patients in the research hall who've been experimented on to try and transform them into kin, several of them asking and one begging to see Lady Maria. But her fate is already sealed, and she knows that, her suicide finally trapping her here permanently rather than escaping from her misdeeds. She trained with Gehrman, the host of the Hunter's Dream, who's been guiding you this far, and he'd likely have met the same fate as her, trapped in that nightmare, except that there's a great one binding him to the dream. Part 4. Gods.
I ain't against gods and goddesses in their place, but they've got to be the ones we make ourselves. Then we can take them to bits for the parts when we don't need them anymore, see?
Every great one wishes for a surrogate, and the Moon Presence has chosen Gehrman. He's trapped in the Hunter's Dream, stuck coaching every newly contracted hunter through the process of what to expect in Yharnam, where to go next, and how to use the various workshop tools and altar runes. He's an old man.
He literally got himself banished to Tutorial Island in RuneScape. Like he found a loophole out of Hunter's Nightmare, but ended up in damn Tutorial Island in RuneScape making boiled shrimp for the rest of his life.
Now, tired and ultimately stretched too thin by his long service. He really just wants to leave the dream to die in peace, but the Moon Presence needs him there to keep this area alive and to funnel more hunters into the infected areas, ensuring there's always someone to keep the beasts at bay.
Away! Away!
It's a reflection of the real Hunter's Workshop that you can find off the beaten path in Yharnam, all eroded with time now. But it's really cool to see the origins of a lot of the Hunter's tools and practices, and often when you kill another hunter in battle, you'll get the crest of whatever faction they belong to. People like the Powder Kegs, who placed emphasis on firepower over strategy, or the Cosmic Eye Badge of the Choir, elite members of the Healing Church, whose eyes were always turned heavenwards, minds
and
on
they had
ascension.
the tentacle powers,
These
and they had the
badges
tentacle
unlock the
powers.
various uniforms of the faction too, that you can get from the little messengers in the dream. The echoes of all the lost hunters are still tangibly here, and you get to choose what kind of strategy and approach your hunter will go with. The dream starts to break down once you kill
Mine was
Mogo's
Jorts.
wet nurse. Mogo's cries finally stop as he's released from the endless night, Queen Yharnam bowing to you as she fades away in gratitude.
Oh, she bows.
Returning to the dream shows you the workshop on fire, and that's not good. Dol will tell you that Gehrman is waiting to speak with you by the tree in a field of moonflowers that's been locked behind a gate so far in the game. And then you get the final boss fight of the game, Gehrman himself.
It's Ger.
He may be
Ger
old,
Bear.
tired, and an amputee, but he's still a master hunter, and boy does this fight show it off.
Tonight, Gehrman joins the hunt.
But the thing is, you don't have to fight him. Depending on what you choose, you can just let him execute you there and then, to release you from the dream the way Gehrman longs for, and you'll wake up as the sun rises on Yharnam. It feels like a good ending, but really you're only delaying the inevitable.
True.
The hunt will always begin again, and maybe this time you won't have the support of the doll and the workshop. After all, Eileen no longer dreams.
Yeah, she only had
Fighting
one
Gehrman
life.
And ultimately killing him is a bit trickier because, congratulations, you freed the old man from his torment, but we need a new host now. That's you. You end up sitting motionless in Gehrman's wheelchair, pushed gently towards your new post at the workshop by the doll as she tells you that the hunt begins again. And your captor is the true final boss, only able to be accessed if you've consumed 3 umbilical cords.
Moon
from
Presence!
Virgo, Ariana's baby, and imposter Yosefka. You
And there's a
need to
fourth
witness
one.
these mothers and children to understand the cycle of the hunt. You need to understand how much longing the Great Ones are filled with, their need for an inevitable loss of their children.
To then become
You
a
need to stop them
child.
from violating humanity to get new children by removing their blood from circulation. So killing Gehrman as the host of the dream and consuming the physical, biological
The
link
pale blood
between mother and
sky.
child, their umbilical cords, to make yourself suitable, calls the Moon Presence down from the heavens. You are her next child. Though she's the true final boss, she's not as strong as Gehrman, or at least I've found her fight a lot easier if I kept my distance. Unlike the other Great Ones we encounter, she works through other people rather than manifesting in our reality. The only way to draw her out is to remove her puppet. She's mostly skeletal, brittle-boned but incredibly fast to compensate. Her face is just a hole, a yonic slit in the place where we'd normally look for eyes, a soul, or in Bloodborne's case, wisdom and knowledge beyond our natural comprehension. What she represents is motherhood.
She's mother!
The only remaining fleshy parts of her are her, holy face and the surrounding phallic tentacles.
She's mother!
Defeating her triggers the childhood's ending, where the hunter really does become her baby, reborn as a little tentacled monstrosity.
We're the
gap
baby
between
now!
human and Great One. You transcend the current limits of humanity and possibly awaken a new era. You've become a god.
And a baby!
We see humans constantly trying to harness the power of the Great Ones throughout the story, with the graves in the Chalice dungeons being mined for materials, churches erected to pray for wisdom, and the horrifying revelation in Yahar Ghul. All the village locals are mysteriously absent, unless you count the abominations of mutated mass burials bursting out of coffins if you get too close.
I would count that.
Any human-shaped thing you find is going to be a blasted corpse leaving behind the skull of a madman, their revelation seemingly too much for their bodies. There's a foreboding choral chant in the air too, reverberating off the empty stones and deserted alleyways. At the end of the village, a black void shrouds the moon and shimmers, before stretching open and birthing a mass of, well, goop. We love a bit of
The
goop
one
on this
reborn!
channel, but, look at it.
Yeah, he's gross!
It's a mass of rotting bodies, all piled into one big boy. An
And he's
artificial human
gross.
attempt at birthing a great one. This is why alchemy forbids human transmutation, guys. This is the kind of shit that happens. Look at it, it's full of vomit. This is an attempt at ascension,
Probably like
but
poop.
humans just aren't there yet. And to try and compensate for our lack, they just chucked more and more souls and blood into the mix to this horrifying result. Incompatible humans. Perhaps the few that make up the still animated parts had a little peculiar blood in them, like Ariana or Yosefka. It really doesn't bear thinking about. Most of the game's plot has you running from church landmark to scholarly retreat, all trying to understand, to comprehend the Great Ones as gods and ethereal beings. They're revered and loved and above all, feared. Mostly killing a Great One gives you the message, prey slaughtered, but there are a couple of notable exceptions. Murgo's wet nurse, the moon presence, and the Orphan of Kos.
Orphan of Kos!
All monstrous mothers and children violently separated.
All
They
mother.
instead give you nightmare slain.
Motherly nightmares.
Though Murgo's wet nurse isn't his mother, she's claimed him from Queen Yarnum. He's her surrogate baby, keeping his essence alive in the endless dream. And it's not the wet nurse's death that triggers the message. There's a gap, as what remains of baby Murgo cries for the last time, before silence falls and the message displays. He's finally free.
He's free!
These creatures aren't just standard prey for a hunter, they're the ones holding the nightmare of the hunt itself together. All because humans decided they needed to know and took that pathological curiosity to violating extremes. We transgressed against the gods, and the gods protected themselves. Breaking the cycle of this dangerous pursuit of knowledge comes in the form of ascension, and the doll holds you close and comforts you as your new nurse. She's your surrogate mother now, just as she was a surrogate Maria for Gehrman, having an identical voice and character model, her clothes covered in the same lumen flowers Maria comforts her patients with inside the
Whoa.
nightmare. She's
Boop,
always
bop,
been
boop,
there
bop.
to look after you throughout the hunt. It's what she was made for.
Hunters have told me about the church, about the gods and their love. But do the gods love their creations? I am a doll created by you humans. Would you ever think to love me? Of course. I do love you. Isn't that how you've made me?
And she'll love you as you grow into a new monster. To her, you were always a god, just as you were.
Whoa!
Though the game's bread and butter is predator and prey, you eventually transcend the hunt so that you no longer need to partake in the corrupting blood. You're a source of it now, a holy font. You no longer need to play with the primal, you've risen above it. But still, there's a deeply animal and deeply human desire for life and children rooted in every Great One, that even cosmic forces way beyond our comprehension bend to. They still crave that connection, to cradle a child of their own, to spend their nights watching over the constellations, their own little stars held.
And then basically every fucked up thing in this game happens because they messed with a mother and their child. Dang. I mean, this is why... What is the Maxor video? Can you link it to me? Maybe we can watch it next time. And the trailer is called Project Beast, an unreleased trailer for the game.
Close to their breast. Their world revolves around their children, just like ours.
That's crazy. So the whole game basically happens because they were making dinosaurs. As I said, they were making dinosaurs. You shouldn't make dinosaurs. You shouldn't make dinosaurs. Also, shout out to Honeybat for this fantastic video. Liked and subscribed. Very awesome and very good and very insightful. You shouldn't mess with a mother. You shouldn't. This is how people like black bears and bears in the forest. If you see them, like, don't fuck with them. They'll kill your ass for messing with their kid or getting close to their kid. Okay, let me look up Project Beast real fast. Project Beast trailer. Bloodborne Project Beast's first gameplay trailer? Or very first trailer. It was meant to be shown to investors and someone leaked it. That's awesome. Or, no wait, this seems more likely to be the trailer. E3 2014? Project Beast? Mist or Beast? It's Yosefka's blood! Wait, the empty baby carriage being front and center, cause it's all about moms, and you don't mess with a mother's baby or you get bloodborne. You mess with the baby, you get born. Is this just the regular trailer? Oh, this is what's on the isn't this what's on the title screen? This is what's on the title menu if you wait in the like opening too long. Dock lever! The beast eyeballs! Wait, that's cool. The beast eyeballs. So initially this is the trailer that we were supposed to see, but the other one has early development stuff. The blood! Lawrence! That's Miss Girl! Wait, coming 2015. Wait, shout out 2015. Everyone buy a PlayStation 4 right now. Everyone buy a freaking PlayStation 4 right now. Right this minute. Okay. Project Beast very first trailer? I think this has like gameplay. Project Beast gameplay trailer. Project Beast's very first trailer. Bloodborne Project Beast's first gameplay trailer. Like this? That's a cool cape. The gun looks so long. It's like a shotgun. The feathers. That clock tower is cool. I kind of love this color palette. Wait, that hallway was so nice looking. I like the green lanterns. The green lanterns, it's very like Scooby-Doo, like horror game. Like cartoon. This curse. This summer. Yo! Wait, that's the guy! That's the guy! Why is it in 120p? That's the best I got. This is the best I got. This is old ass gameplay footage. This looks like Ludlith from Dark Souls 3. How will it end? This summer. Ebrietas! Wait, is this Ebrietas in the cathedral? Where you fight Vicar Amelia instead of being in the basement? That's kind of cool. Wait, that's cool. That's cool. She is there just under it. So true. So true. The Pale Blood Hunt, I'll have to check it out because it's an audiobook. I don't know if it's like super interesting to watch on stream just because it's like mostly audio.
Oh, don't you worry. Whatever happens, you may think
like narrated. But yeah, I'll check it out later. Just the last chapter. Brother, it's an hour long. It's a damn hour.
it all a mere bad dream.
It was all a mere bad dream. I would like to, I think we got a good breakdown of what happens in the DLC from her video. What's the Maxor video? Well, maybe we can check that out next time. Because I want to play some Halloween games this. Elden Ring had a similar video leak and someone got in serious trouble for it. Leaked it on a USB. What is the Maxor video called? Bloodborne review? He's just reviewing it? It's not even the lore? It's not even the lore? It's a bit of lore. Okay. Love it. Okay, that's all I had prepared is just those two videos. I'm open to more lore, but I think she covered like a good bit of it, to be honest, in her breakdown. I'm not really... I love Vati, but I'm not really fucking with the style of this video. Which I guess he just put out because he was trying to put out a video about the DLC when the DLC was getting it out, was just coming out. So I understand that. But I don't know that it ages well in terms of a DLC lore video. Because it's not so much as lore, but more like observation. But yeah, chat, that's it for tonight's stream. I'm gonna leave it there. We can maybe do a little bit more Bloodborne lore at the beginning of the next stream. I also want to play the No I'm Not Human game. So that's on my list for Halloween streams. But that's it for tonight. So thank you all for watching. And that was pretty fun. That was really fun. There's a lot that I missed and a lot that was like fun to make connections with. That was cool. I like Bloodborne lore. W periods. W periods and the people that have them, I dare say. Alright, good night, chat. Good night. Good night.